Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation first and foremost to new patron Endless, also Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealons, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
What point does somebody got to stop being nice, kind, polite when somebody else is being rude?
Yeah, I know. They expect you to be polite and everything when these people are condescending and rude right to your face. Well, not to your face, but, you know. And you're supposed to just wipe it off and turn the other cheek. Fuck that.
Check it. The video I posted up in the chat about climate change, the 25 NASA scientists, the first guy that talks right before the next speaker comes in, he says, "You guys know we don't go to outer space, right? We call it low Earth orbit."
Where's that?
Yes, I'm aware that you don't go outer space. I knew that.
Right. But this is like they brought these guys in to talk about like climate change and climate science, blah blah blah, and they're against it all. They've looked at the data, right? So these guys are sitting here like, look, the data is less than 0.01%. Like, what are you guys talking about? The world's gotten hotter.
Well, it's
Yeah,
such a big industry
0.01
now.
degrees.
It's
hotter
summer.
in 30 years by 0.01 degrees. Ooh, scary.
Well, it's such a big industry
Yeah, and then
now.
the other half of the year it cools down a degree on average.
Actually, I find this stuff kind of terrifying, so do you mind not being terrified by it too, please? Thank you.
I'll tell you what's terrifying. The cost of stuff today.
Sunken cost fallacy.
Now, what's terrifying is the fact that people don't know what the definition of registration is or a allodial title.
Here we go.
That's scary.
How does that affect me, Cuddles?
Because the first four letters of your name is Costantino.
That's why everything costs so much.
No, it would be Costanino then.
It is funny, right? Nathan, you were blown away the other day, the fact that nobody else knew registering stuff conveyed your rights to the property to somebody else. But dude, this is
No,
what I've
I
been
think
dealing with
everybody
for
knew
14
that.
years.
Yeah, we didn't even get into birth certificates.
Yeah, but we didn't really need to get that far. The fact that they think registration means that it belongs to them, they've lost. Dude, this isn't just a couple of people. This is the whole damn country, bro.
So what's the solution?
Listen, my uncle told me years ago, in America, you don't own anything. All you do is borrow stuff.
So I want to know the solution to all this. Since all of these things are out in the open now, what do you do to fight it?
You don't.
You get William Wallace, and you say, "Are you ready for a war?"
I'm asking the gentleman who knows about it.
For your car, there's a series of things for any piece of property. There's a series of things to be done. If you have a car and you paid it off, you need your bill of sale, the receipts from the last payment, and the certificate of title you have, and you're going to write the manufacturer, and you need the MCO. Please send me the MCO for this here vehicle. I do not wish to have it out in the public anymore. It's private.
So what is an MCO and why would the manufacturer have it and not anyone else?
Manufacturer certificate of origin, and they were supposed to give it to you when you bought the car, when you finished paying it off completely. They were supposed to give you the MCO, but they didn't, because the federal government in 1905 made a deal with all the manufacturers that the MCO goes directly to the Fed, and the only way for people to get it is to ask for it. So they give you a certificate of title so you can transfer the property to anyone at will without a whole lot of paperwork.
All right, you buy a used car cash. 2 owners previously had it. Now what do?
Take your receipt, your bill of sale, your certificate of title that you get. You're going to make copies of everything. And then you write the manufacturer and ask them for the MCO.
Well, you have to put your VIN number or what?
Yeah. I mean, dude,
Okay,
you're sending them a copy of your bill of sale and your certificate of title to tell them, hey, look, this is what I've got. They
hold
made
on
a
a second. Just one sec. I think the administrative part of it is the least of your concerns because that bit's all dealt with. So they'll definitely have all of your VIN numbers and all of your registration titles and all of the barcodes. They've got all that. That's the point. You want it. But, you're like, well, do I have to give them the VIN number? Well, that's part of the registration document in the first instance, isn't it? So, like I say, the numbers and that part of the admin is already on all of the documents anyway. So that's the least of your concern.
Well, no, what I'm trying to say is I want to be hyper specific, as you say. So the original sale was to somebody else. He sold it to somebody else. Now it's yours. You happen to have a receipt from the second guy that you paid him for it, one party to another party. And then the title, you get that from your state, right?
Yeah,
No.
but that's the
Technically,
thing. They give you a short form.
Let me just correct him. You transferred the registered keeper of the vehicle. That's what you actually did when you say sold. Not so much. Transferred the registration.
State.
Transferred
Right,
registration.
But given the state in the U.S., if I lived in Texas or if I live in California, which I do, it goes through that state department and the way they do it. So the transfer's made. Do you have to wait till the transfer's made and then ask for it? Or I just want to be specific on this.
Yes, you're on track so far.
Yes. So you have the car, you have the title, everything's in your quote unquote name as the user, as a usufruct. Ugh. God, there's a word.
No, go on. I'm following now. I just need details.
So as it's registered, you basically have like a usufruct. It's just basic rights to use, but not rights beyond just use. If somebody else has a greater need to use it, that usufruct, you feel me?
Let me ask you a question. What if the cops pull you over? They ask you for license and registration. What do you hand them? And are they
your license and registration, Neil?
This?
That's what you hand them. That's totally separate. Just try to keep it on track. Let's not have any non sequiturs.
Right. Well, here's the fun thing. Say I do have the MCO for my car. All right, I've returned the plates and the sticker to the DMV. I sent them a beautiful letter, and I sent them a scanned copy of the MCO, telling them, "Hey, please, cancel the registration. I'm opting out. This vehicle is no longer going to be a part of your program. It's private property. It will be privately owned from here on out. Thank you. Have a great day. If a cop decides to mess with you, you give him a copy of the MCO. Right then and there. You don't have jurisdiction. I don't consent. Here's proof. You don't have jurisdiction. It's not registered to your company. Now, what he does after that is going to be criminal, because it's not inside of his jurisdiction.
You still have to, however, obey the laws of the road, because those fall outside, and you can still be prosecuted, so don't feel it extends
manners,
beyond...
yeah.
Yeah. So there is jurisdiction overlap. That's the point. People get a bit confused.
Yeah, if you wreck your car
if you don't have registration,
you're going to jail.
If you just fail to register it, you go to jail. Yeah.
They can't
Not just fail to register. If you don't produce a registration, if you produce some MCO, you're going to jail, buddy.
Well, here's the thing. If they say I failed to register, okay, prove that I failed. Prove that I ever even attempted it. How about that?
But that's my point. You're still going to go through the system.
Oh, well, you failed. Well, hold on. If I've never attempted anything, how can I fail at something I've never attempted? That doesn't make any sense. We're back to communism.
My point is, you're going to be doing that before a judge. You got to go through the system. It's not as easy as, get the MCO, and then you're in this free man, and you finally own something. No, that's not how it works.
No, you have to mature mentally, emotionally. Yes, you do. You have to learn what your rights are. You have to learn how to assert your rights properly. Yes.
All right, so you've got your letter that you opted out, copies of it. You can show that to the peace officer and say, look, I've opted out of the system. I'm within my rights, my laws. I don't belong. I'm not under your jurisdiction or the states anymore. Just the traffic laws.
Boom.
Yeah, that was pretty much perfect.
Yeah, no, I get what he's saying. So now let's move on. How does this work with your name? And when they say, is this you? And they ask you for your license, because it's always ambiguous when I hear these shows, when they say all these things, they never really give you the answer. They just say it without the detail. That's why I want to hear the details. And then any real experiences from people.
Well, I mean, the thing is you ask what style the name is written in. You know, can I see the piece of paper that you're reading from? What style is that name written in?
Is it in all caps?
If it's in all caps, and if it's in all caps and you say that's you're screwed. Because one, nobody ever taught you how to read or write in all capital letters. First off, that's your big red flag. And secondly, all caps, that's not me. That's not my name.
All right, so your name
must
is
have
in
the wrong
all
guy.
caps.
So
All
who's
right,
that?
but
The next
when you-
question, 10th, if it isn't this question, I'm going to ask it anyway. So who is that guy? Who is capitalised Nathan Oakley? Who is he? If it's not me, who is it?
I have no idea, Your Honor. Tell me. You're the one holding the name.
All right, so when you say,
what is it? Possession's 9/10 of the law.
Hang on, let's slow down. Let's go back a bit. You're saying when they hand you a piece of paper, you've got me in the courtroom now, right?
Not necessarily. Depends how
Sure.
far it gets, but potentially.
Okay, well, who's handing me a piece of paper when I'm handing them my license?
Yeah, that's another one of those scheming things. I don't have one of those either.
Don't have. Oh, so you don't have a state
license.
issued
You're
license?
correct.
No, he has a traveler's license.
Let's get into this too. This is good. What's the license
Yeah.
for, 10th? What's it licensing you for?
No, what I'm saying is before he didn't have it, he had it. So how do you opt out of it before you say you don't have one of those?
No. You're not listening to my question. What's the license for? What are you licensing yourself to do when you get a driving license? What's the license for?
Well, the title should say it. Legal driving, registered with the state.
Driving what?
Public roads.
Not driving where? Driving what?
A vehicle.
Well, what's meant by vehicle? Because I only have automobile.
Hold on, let him get there himself. He's nearly there.
Well, I'm more interested in the name part, not the what I'm driving.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Well, they're
all
quite...
caps.
Hold on. So, hold on. You're going to disassociate yourself
guy?
from a registered vehicle. That's what you're driving, aren't you?
No, I've already got the MCO. I'm not registered with my vehicle. Now I'm just concerned about how he would approach, or the people who are saying we have some rights and we can ascertain them and use them this way. When I see my name, or anyone sees their name in full caps, say, I'm not that guy. I don't spell my name that way. Who is that guy? Right? That's how you do it.
So far, so
You're a
good.
traveler.
You're missing
Hang on,
the
Neil.
nuance about the vehicle itself.
I guess I am, because I'm more interested in the name and the all caps.
Okay, so the biggest issue you start off with is when you do register the car, you're telling them that you're using it in a commercial capacity. Now, when you get the MCO and you send them the letters and you tell them, hey, look, I'm opting out of your program, you're telling them that you're no longer engaged in commerce. They only have jurisdiction, according to Article 5 in the Texas State Constitution, over commercial business. They don't have a right to come into my house and look at, anything in the toilet and say, oh, well, we got to change your diet.
That's
Okay.
well, hold on.
Right,
That's
federal jurisdiction
property.
over commerce.
They want to look in the property, don't they? Hold on. You want to search my residence? No, we want to search the property. There's no commercial business here. That is to property
and that's
what
the thing.
vehicle is to
They
driving.
always use They
You go on.
always use terms. Oh, where do you reside at? What do you mean? What do I reside? Is that a commercial term? Well, no, it's not commercial. Oh, can you prove that? Well, I don't have to prove anything. Wonderful. So we're at a stalemate. You're trespassing, and I don't want you to.
It's all in the words. They've got a whole separate language that we use interchangeably with our actual language. And that legal language, most people don't know the meanings of the words they're using when it comes to the legal implications of what they say. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody goes out and does this. I mean, fine, more power to you. I learned a long time ago that it's very difficult to take off the straw man coat. You need it. And even if you do take it off completely, I assure you 100%, you will admit, Cuddles, undoubtedly, that there are occasions that you have to put on that stupid capitalised straw man coat and do things with it, don't you?
Right, just be very careful in using the word understand when you're inquiring with this sort of agency. Because once they declare something, ask you if you understand, and you say yes, you're literally giving them authority. You might not even realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're standing under them.
Yeah. But he's got a point. Nathan was headed for a point.
Was I? Hooray! What was I talking about?
I forgot
Straw
because
man
they
code.
chimed
The straw
in.
man code.
Oh, yeah, at some point you have to involve yourself in the system. Whether you like it or not, there will be points in this. I learned about this, I don't know, 10 years ago. And the guy taught me all about it, taught me it in this language. It's like, there will come a time that you have to put your straw man coat on. Whether you like it or not. Just deal with it. Put it on. Go into whatever it is that you have still got an association with. If in this case it's the DMV. You put on your capitalised straw man coat, you walk in, you deal with it, then you take it off again when you get out, and that's it. But obviously any implications that are there when you contract with them, you have to abide by. You're contracting with them. That's the bottom line. Business relationship, that's what you've got with them. And what you're trying to do is disassociate yourself from that business relationship that you have with them, be it at your home, your residence, or when you're out in your vehicle on commercial business, which you are all the time when you do it and you're registered.
Well, let me ask him a question. When you say, when they specify it under commerce, does that mean anyone employed or anyone acting in a bartering situation? What is their definition of commerce?
Doesn't matter. You've
Money
registered
being
it.
exchanged
No.
for services or products.
Thank you, Armin. How has the vehicle been registered? It doesn't matter what you're doing in it. It's a registered vehicle for commerce. Therefore, it's a commerce or commercial vehicle. Now, obviously, there's various different distinctions of what is commercial, heavy goods, but they're all vehicles. So it doesn't matter what you're actually doing, makes no difference.
But when it comes to
Yeah,
vehicles and driving, there's two sides, right?
No.
There's the commercial side.
No. Your capitalised strawman is always doing business, and it is your capitalised strawman that's behind the wheel registered of a vehicle that he's driving. You and the capitalised guy that is you, in commercial terms, is the one doing that right at that moment. Doesn't matter what non-capitalised Nathan Oakley's doing, because you're engaging your strawman and what your strawman is registered with. That is you at that point, because you've conceded to that being you. You are that capitalised driver. Whether you like it or not, doesn't matter what you're doing. People just don't... The subtleties of this stuff is lost on most people when they first get into it, and that's where they get into shitloads of trouble.
I got a huge, interesting real-world example.
You talked over me saying no, but I was just going to lay out there's two different situations happening at all time, right? And that is that the roads aren't actually public anymore. Not really. Right? They are like registered, owned by groups, and so they become like commercial. So if you want to then move on the roads, then you have to have that straw man, because you can't get on there. You're not allowed on there unless you are that straw man.
Incorrect. The roads are public. However, you have to be taxed to use them for commercial purposes, and your vehicle's registered as such. Therefore, you taxed to use the roads in that manner. The roads are public.
Oh. Hold on.
Look,
Sounds like we're
Farmer
a bunch of
John
slaves.
can take the home-built go-kart he made to go to the grocery store and get bread and milk and gas, and he can go home, and he doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to say anything to anyone. The public roads are open to everyone, commercial or private people just traveling upon the roads. The difference is what you tell them that you're doing out of your own ignorance.
Self-reporting.
Everyone keeps telling them that, oh, I'm commercial, I'm a driver, I've got a license, I've got this. All right, but what is the definition of a license? Permission to do something that otherwise would be illegal. Well, what do you mean by illegal? Because against the law is the law. The law is the law is the law is the law. But what the hell is this illegal crap?
Right.
Because I follow the law. I don't follow the legal. I've never met a legal.
Yeah.
So have you been stopped before, and do you have personal experience in how they go?
Yeah, dude, I've got a video where I had 5 state troopers and 2 marshals over fucking an alleged 1 mile an hour over the speed limit.
So what happened?
In Missouri. I have a whole video, 5 of them.
Did you get
7 of them.
prosecuted for the 1 mile an hour over the speed limit?
Nope. They wasted about 25 minutes of my time and then did the walk of shame, all 7 of them.
Right, because they could only get him, or they could only attempt to get you on, infringements of actual laws. No, you're not allowed to drive impaired regardless of what your purpose is. No, you're not allowed to drive over the speed limit regardless of what your purpose is. So they pulled him over for a speed infraction, and then they got him to do the walk of shame. You mean a sobriety test, I assume?
No. They did the walk of shame. I stood up for my rights. I locked the doors, I turned on the camera, and I refused to talk to them. The guy's like, I'm going to break open the window. I said, do what you feel you're going to have to do, bro. But you're bearing the liability of your actions. I'm not.
Yeah, see,
And
that's crazy to me.
He kind of stopped and was like, yeah, you're going to take the liability because I'm not taking it for you. You crazy.
Yeah, you got to know your stuff and have some balls on you to do this.
Well, this is why I'm asking these slow down question types rather than being, in a sense, I feel like mocked for not knowing something. Can we continue, but slow down for everybody?
Right.
Because how are you
Right.
going to know these little nuances?
So the name game thing, the problem with the name game is originally your name was private. Your family made a certificate of life for you.
It's called your legal name.
A copy of the records, and you had a certificate of life. It's not a straw man in the sense of the legal side. However, what they've done is taken something that's been organic for thousands of years and made a commercial business out of it, where they take your God-given name, parents giving you your name, and they convert it into a commercial entity so they can tax you through that entity.
You become
Now, with the proper certificate of life.
Hold on, just let me add this. You become a corpse, a corporation.
A legal entity.
Right.
Right. Your actual
corpse.
living part has been, in at least I don't know if it's the same in the States, but lost at sea. And you've got until you're adult registered when you change from master and miss to Ms. or Mr. So you've got a certain amount of time to reclaim your actual, life name as opposed to your strawman name. I think you've got until
your living spirit.
Okay,
something like that. But that's lost at sea, essentially, from as of 1666, I think.
Carlos, do you ever show any type of identification in purchasing or doing anything?
What's identification?
Look, I'm asking him.
No, but what is it?
Let's say he's buying something, I don't know, and they say, give me a form of identification. In the States, that would be your driver's license, that would be your social security, that would be something. I'm asking him, now that he's made the shift and he's no longer that all capitalized corporate name that he doesn't want to identify with, has he ever been asked for any kind of identification? And since he doesn't have any, what happens then?
Did you want to answer? What my question to that question would be, number one, what reason has anybody got to ask you for that? So if you can give me a scenario, therefore I can pick out the reason and whether or not their reason to ask is valid, as opposed to what do you do when someone asks you for identification? Well, if I come up to you, 10th, and ask you for identification, what do you say to me?
Get lost.
So why would that be in any way in any different in any other scenario? Give me a different scenario that would be different.
Because it is. When the system, as Neil labeled it, has got you playing this game. Obviously, it's a game, and they've hijacked the real you. So they're going to say, okay, give me two forms of identification. Give me your birth certificate. Give me this. If you want a passport, if you want to buy a home, if you want to withdraw a large amount of money in your account with your name, show me this is really you.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that. When you go to pull out $2,000 or a band at the bank, they freak out.
So what do you do?
Bro, I have a state ID right now. But the thing is one side of the ID is an image of me, and the other side of the ID is a straw man. They've tried to merge them together, and that is a big problem.
This is the problem I have with this. You're explaining something you've already done a good job of explaining. I'm asking you in real time, what do you do?
I tell them, look, if they want me to identify myself, I will identify myself as who I am. But if you ask me for something outside of me to identify me, it's nonsense.
Okay, let me just step in. Okay, you're not getting an answer, so I'll give you an example. So we laughed about this. Why does Jason Disbury identify as Jason of the Disbury family? Because that distinguishes his lowercase name from his uppercase name. That's why he identifies as Jason of the Disbury family. Is that capitalised Jason Disbury? No. Obviously not, otherwise it would be what you have on your piece of paper. My name, on the other hand, is Jason of the Disbury family. Something distinctly different from Jason Disbury in capital letters.
Right. But what he's asking about, right, is in the situation like where I'm at with all of this. What do I do? And I can make my own ID. I can make my own passport. I can make my own documentation. I have every right to make my own everything. Period. So I can do that. That's one avenue I can take.
Right. But
Right, but
you
have
see,
you
the
done
problem is
that,
that you're
or do
being
you?
asked a straight up question, which
He's
is
not gonna answer.
effectually.
He's not gonna answer because it's gonna
Okay,
be
cool
like
story, Fresh. Good grief, bro. Would you wait patiently to talk while I was talking? Anyway,
Mad
straight
at
up
me.
question is, how do you effectuate a transaction where they normally would ask you for an ID? Not that you could create the
give
ID,
them-
it's like a real world example.
I give them something that they want. Either it's an ID that I've made or it's one from the state. Right now, I only have the one from the state right this second.
And he's already explained that the one from the state, well, they only want one thing on that ID. They want his strawman name on it. So that's what it's got on it. So when I said earlier, metaphorically, putting on your little strawman coat, that's an example.
Yep.
So I had an
Right.
interesting real world example of the weirdness of this, where I went, as I'm supposed to do, to get a driver's license, right? The time I was supposed to get it, because I was switching states. I went into the DMV and I looked at the paperwork and I looked at the thing on the sign which says, what you're supposed to do, what line you're supposed to go in. And I was looking for driver's license. And all I could find was passenger's license. And I scratched my head. I was like, what the heck is a passenger's license? You need a license to be a passenger in a vehicle? What is that? And so when I looked at it further, the category for driver's license was actually written everywhere, even on the poster on the wall, as passenger's license. So essentially, in that area, there was no driver's license. It was literally a passenger's license. So to operate a vehicle, you had to be a passenger, not a driver. It was weird.
Right. Well, that's in the grand scheme of things, right? So the quote unquote driver would be the one creating the documentation, and you now realizing this weirdness, you're getting permission from them to use their stuff. So they're licensing you as a corporation to use their stuff that you've told them is theirs. It's exactly how a PMA would do it. If I start a private membership association today, right? I got a piece of land, I got a couple of cars, I'm going to stick all that stuff in the PMA. I write my own license to every single driver I hire that works for my PMA. I do. Not the state, not the DMV, not the DOT, nobody other than me writes the license.
So do you pay for your,
What?
since you're avoiding registration, do you not have the tag that says 2022 in the back of your plates? What happens when they pull you over for that?
What do you mean by pull me over, man? He turns on the
Oh
red
my
and blues
gosh.
to signal an emergency. Yeah, but the problem is the language, dude. You say pulled over by, but how? He doesn't have a tractor beam. He didn't hook up a chain to my car, man.
Oh
Pulled
my
over is the wrong
gosh.
term.
You know what? Why do you do this?
Come on, Cuddles. You know what he's talking about.
No,
If the cop puts
he's
his
got
lights on and tells you to pull over.
Right, guys. Let me explain why he's talking to the way he is. Because he doesn't want to be responsible for getting it wrong and you misinterpreting what he's saying, and he's being nuanced in how he's telling you so that he doesn't make any mistakes. Now, I'm not suggesting for one second that anybody employs any of this stuff. Just be aware of it. It's nice to be aware of things so that you know what you're doing when you're doing it and why you're doing it. Doesn't mean you don't have to do it or you have to seek out an alternative. It's just nice to know what you're doing. But Cuddles is in it, doing it on a level that's beyond most people's comprehensions. And you can only get to that stage if you've learned the subtle nuances of it and the legal jargon. And when he is asked, when they pull you over, I can automatically envisage what's going on in his mind. He's saying, well, why would it be being pulled over? That's what's going through his mind.
Okay, that says, okay, Nathan, in a sense, you're white knighting, but you're saying the right thing at the same time. Disclaiming this is advice for anyone to do. That's good. No one's saying to do this. It's just for conversation only. But
right. When they turn on the red and blues and I get out of the way and they follow me, right? Me getting out of their way because I believe they're on the way to an emergency and they follow me, what you call pulled over. What do?
Now we've got a different scenario. So you see how the scenario has changed. Nothing's changed, right? Lights have come on, 2 cars have pulled over, one behind the other. They're both the same scenario, but they're not. Because in Cuddle's scenario, he's got out of their way and then they've followed him. So the scenario from the get-go is subtly different in the mind's eye of Cuddles to how he's being asked about it. Now, I'm not white knighting for him, because I just understand how he's trying to lead you down a path of how his mentality works before he's even confronted by a dude. In this instance, a policeman.
Nathan, for goodness sake, without my questions being so exact, we haven't even gotten here. This is the problem with this topic.
The problem.
They talk in these big things. Okay, go on.
The problem comes in when people don't study the nuances. The code for emergency vehicles is quite clear. Is very clear, actually. And when they're allowed to use those lights. Well, me going 2 miles over a sign that, well, I mean, it's a sign. The speed limit. Speed limit of what? The birds, the bees, the water going down the street. What? It's too ambiguous.
No, I get it, Cuddles. You act like you're an alien. You're not registered. You're not from Earth. It's not you. But we're looking for specifics, and you're just talking these grand scheme of things, and we miss all the specifics. That's the whole point. Now, what do you do when you finally have? Do you ever pull over, or do you just keep driving?
Well, it depends on my situation. Sometimes I'll keep going. Other times I'll get off the road where I'm comfortable.
Okay.
The last time I did that was bananas.
Fine. When you keep going and there are lights behind you, what do? Do they just keep going with you, or do they just say, forget this guy, let's go to another one? What do they do?
Sometimes they leave you alone, and other times they start hitting your car with their car.
Jeez.
Just worth the risk.
Listen, so now we're getting somewhere. So how many of those times, either way, has happened to you?
I haven't had them ever hit my car, but normally I get out of their way.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Sleeping Warrior, Arwin, Chocolate saying, did I miss anybody? I don't think I did. And a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
I'm
Hello.
free.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning. So become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member to check out the rather extensive Freeman discussion that we had in the pre-show, but unfortunately for those who are really enjoying it, or if you're watching this on an after show on the second channel, subscribe today. Then we're moving on. Flat Earth it is, as we're now live. So welcome one and all.
Hello.
Hello again.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, the horizon is not Earth's curve, although they keep insinuating that it is. It is not.
Would that be written down in all capital letters?
Didn't they say on
Curve
the
of
page-
Earth, capital letters?
Speaking of that subject, didn't the guy come on your show and say it's invisible, but they measured it?
Well, it's invisible because they're claiming that the geometric horizon, the one they need a tangent to, is no longer visible because they refracted it back in 2020 when confronted with the black swan argument. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959, then every distance to horizon, that's the geometric tangent point, Earth curve edge, could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the distance to horizon shown back in 2020 in the image dubbed the black swan is beyond the limitations of a sphere edge with a tangent point called Earth curve at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve. Their response back in 2020 is to tell us that, well, obviously, it's a refracted horizon. That would mean it's got a bent line to it. So it's no longer a tangent point, and the Earth curve in the Earth curve maths is a tangent point. So they've refracted their own tangent point that the geometry for Earth curve at the horizon is based on.
Okay, hang on. Let me go deep on this. So before the black swan, it used to block the bottoms of boats and buildings. After the black swan, it became refracted. So what in their mind is still blocking the bottom of boats and buildings at this point and location that isn't where it's supposed to be?
Well, it isn't, but there's a distinction that's not in regards to where it should or shouldn't be or what it is or isn't. It's who is actually claiming it at that stage. So your average general normie isn't necessarily claiming that it's refracted because the Earth curve isn't a refracted position that blocks boats and buildings. It's a physical tangent point Earth curve edge horizon that blocks the boats and buildings according to National Geographic and the Earth curve calculators and the assertion that there's a physical hill in the way called Earth curve that blocks boats and buildings. When you point out to them that it isn't and show that it isn't, at that point you can either accept that Earth curve isn't the horizon or start chanting about refraction, destroying your own geometry in a vague, nonsensical attempt to retain a sphere Earth belief with a non-tangent, non-Earth curve horizon that is still based on the Earth curve horizon you can't see anymore. That's an anti-flat earther. So the they is where the distinction comes.
Right. So it separates the normal globie from the anti-flat earther. Now, when you say it's beyond its geometric limitation, obviously they're going to say Earth with atmosphere, you'll never see it, but Earth without an atmosphere, you'll be at that 1.22 mile mark if you're at 1 foot observer height. Correct?
Yes, the Earth curve maths asserts that it's at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's Earth curve.
I mean, they never made that claim before. You know, we didn't hear anything about how they wouldn't see the curve of the Earth because we have an atmosphere, because all these boats and buildings that were supposedly disappearing in the distance was happening in supposed atmosphere. So what happened? All of a sudden now we can't see this thing that's supposed to be blocking boats and buildings in the distance because we have air here?
Well, I'm reminded,
Weird.
Chocolate, I'm reminded of that Bill Nye video where he shows that old-time sailboat going over curvature of the ball. Remember that one?
Sure,
Yeah.
but we
I don't remember.
We don't need to spend our time asserting to anti-flat earthers that they should be claiming the horizon's Earth curve. The fact remains, we've debunked Earth curve at the horizon. Now that's all
No,
that
no,
needs to be stated. What anti-flat Earth
No.
heretics do in this little pond is kind of inconsequential. They're inconsequential.
Bingo. That's where I was going to. They're heretics of the globe model, what the globe states. They don't even believe it themselves.
Yeah, that's why they're trapped here with us.
Yeah, I was going to go there, but
Any
Even
evidence of
normies will claim refraction.
Say again?
Even normies will claim refraction.
Even
Yeah.
normies
What
claim
kind of
refraction,
refraction?
did you say? I didn't quite hear what you said.
They won't analyze it much. They'll say, that's probably just refraction.
I still
That's
didn't hear
catching
you. One more time.
Sorry. Seems to be that even normies claim refraction when they can see too far as their go-to.
Incorrect. So in the curve maths, when they claim refraction as a normie, which is typically one step beyond a normie, if I'm honest, if you're talking about refraction in Earth curve maths, it's a refraction of the target with respect to the Earth curve you're trying to prove with the geometry being a tangent point horizon. So they refract the target with respect to the geometric limitation called Earth curve.
It's a paradox.
Yeah, you can't use geometry if the horizon's refracted because you've no longer got a tangent point to base the geometry on. The refraction included, it's based on 7/6 of the radius. The radius being the tangent point, the geometry, the Earth, the radius 3959, that's the geometry. Well, you destroy the geometry when you refract the very horizon you're trying to prove is a physical limitation. They got one step down the begging the question upon begging the question of Earth with a radius and then a sphere edge horizon. But then when that doesn't work, they have to refract the targets. But when the horizon doesn't work, they have to refract the geometry? No, that's a paradox, as Arwen's just said. You can't refract the geometry. It's a tangent. It's a straight line.
Hold on,
It is
though.
amazing.
The problem is that in your conversation there, they did that in the first instance when they applied 7/6R. 7/6R isn't applied to the path of light. It's applied to the circumference of the Earth. So what they do is they inflate the mathematics for the circle before they apply the circle segment formula. What this effectuates in reality is a lowering of the sagittah, which is the apex arc between the 2 points. So in other words, in order for them to demonstrate that the observation fits their model, they literally change the size of the Earth. So it's a category error, and it's a concession that their radius is broken.
Absolutely correct. Couldn't have put it better myself. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
See question number one.
No.
It would have to be a ball first before it's a ball that's spinning.
Yeah, you'd need an axis, you'd need a radius value, you'd need it to be a sphere Earth, and we've debunked all of the above with the first question. Black Swan. No, you haven't got an Earth curve edge. You can't derive a tangent. You can't measure a radius. The methodologies that's been used or claimed to prove a radius or measure a radius utilise flat planes in the first instance. Any evidence of the distance to the Sun?
Nope.
Somewhere in the
They
sky.
thought they had it.
No? Okay. Almost 90 people watching. Wow, we've only been going 10 minutes, so almost up to 200 people. Wow. Fabulous. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
If you find any capital letters gravity, then please don't forget to register at your local DMV.
come on, Arwen. No scientific evidence of something that doesn't exist. What is gravity? That they don't even
What?
have a single. They don't even have a single definition for it. They have many definitions for it.
No, objects go down, go boom, boom.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means gravity.
That's what I'm saying. So is there any other reason why objects, when let go by the hand, go down? And some go up.
And some go up. I was going to say, releases helium balloon.
Buoyancy.
Well, what's
It's
buoyancy?
like Al Pacino and
It floats on top of the heavier
Advocate.
gas.
Hold on.
I have so many names.
That got lost, chocolate. Say that
I
again.
thought you were going to give the whole quote. I'm the hand up Mona Lisa's skirt.
I wasn't gonna do the whole thing, but yeah, that's what gravity is. It's just like whatever you want to call it.
But gravity
So
is just a
is it-
mathematical concept.
Yeah, didn't they make it up because the ocean's trillions and trillions of gallons, if you want to scale it that way, of water has to be kept on a spinning ball going in the vacuum of space? Somehow that's got to stay. It's because something spinning is going to throw out. It's not going out.
Yeah, 107 years ago, that was replaced and superseded by a non-physical, mathematical only, whoever it was that said that from Discord. Yes, indeed. A reification of a mathematical fourth dimension that we don't exist in. But yes, 107 years ago, they presumably needed a reason to explain away why the water wasn't flying off their reified, flat Earth plane-derived sphere model.
Okay, so in their sphere model, that force is emanating from the center of the sphere Earth, which is presupposed as well, and it's spinning 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, and it's going through all these other contortions throughout their vacuum of space, and somehow that force in the middle is keeping everything in. It's got to be a strong force, right? I mean, if it was real, it'd have to be a really strong force to offset the normal trajectory of going out versus holding on in, right?
But but it's incorrect because there's not a force pulling things. It's the bending of space-time. So mass is redistributing itself, causing the space within space-time to bend, causing things to move.
Well,
By happenstance
Hold on,
to a
hold on. I
center
need to
point.
gain clarity. Hold on. Tenth, were you asking in the context of physical reality that we experience or in the conceptual fourth dimensional space-time that is invented by Einstein 107 years ago?
The former, I was going to take steps before they came in with their second statement. Yes, the physical reality.
Sorry, it's just no, Arwin. No, he's not talking about conceptual mediums. He's talking about what would be described in physical reality if we were on a reified space ball with water not flying off it. You'd need some sort of force. You were right in the respect that if he was talking about pseudo-Ramonian force space-time bending, then it wouldn't actually be a force at all. But, you know, that juxtaposition between what is needed to keep water on a ball 107 years ago being moved into the conceptual from then until now doesn't alter what 10th Man is asking about in terms of what it's overcoming is still a problem. Hence they haven't relinquished.
I thought he was going by the official
relinquished.
registered version of gravity.
I was just about to say, hence they haven't relinquished that version of gravity. That would be in name only Newtonian gravity. It's still taught in schools because throwing it into a fourth dimensional space-time mathematical conceptual medium we don't exist in, you still have the problem of keeping all the water on Earth when it's spinning. So they just keep teaching the 107-year out-of-date rhetoric of Newtonian gravity in name only to overcome that problem.
May I continue, please?
Sure.
Okay, so if that being said, Newtonian, which is what they said back then when you have a helium balloon and you let go, that force that's strong enough to hold everything else down doesn't affect that helium balloon or a butterfly or anything else with the small wings. All right, so they realized there was a problem. So then Einstein said, look, there's a problem in the real world. We got to get this out of the real world. So then they took it to force space, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go with Arwin. So now what is that, for audience sake? Why don't you go through that and then I'll follow up.
Is that a question?
Yeah, I'm letting Nathan tell us the story of why they dumped Newton and went to Einstein.
You've already done it because gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom. If mass attracts mass, as is asserted in not Newtonian gravity, as I keep saying, Newtonian name only, actually C.V. Boy's Reverend John Michel and Cavendish gravity, which is the assertion that mass attracts mass. Well, gas has mass in their vernacular, and it's not attracting other gas particles, quite the opposite. It's bouncing off them with elastic collisions. It's expanding in all directions. It's emerging from the ground and going up. So no, gas doesn't behave that way. It defies Newtonian, in name only, gravity. It's not mass attracting mass. Just going to read
No,
out
you
this.
have.
I said
Right,
this
but the
last week.
reason-
They had to come up with that
I think that's where
because
10th's going.
it's
Go ahead,
proven.
10th.
Can I respond?
Yeah. Well, hang on, Arvin. But you had said it much better before when they took it out of the real world and put it into a concept. I want that explanation from you.
Well, you've got to start with why you would want to do that. Obviously, if the Newtonian explanation of gas going down, go boom, boom, actually matched with the physical reality, there'd be no need to move into the conceptual fourth-dimensional pseudo-Riemannian four-space-time bending explanation that Arwin gave earlier. That's only necessitated by the fact that gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom, and pool like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank, as asserted by a PhD clown known as Thunderfoot. That's not how gas behaves. Therefore, you have a reintroduction of a new, in-name only, gravity. Because it's not Einsteinian gravity, it's a conceptual medium that doesn't exist, and the description in mathematical terms of the fourth dimension bending. Because we don't experience mass attracting mass in physical reality. I'm going to read out this super chat. I'm sorry to break up your flow, 10th man. Godzilla for 37, thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Says, excuse me, President Biden has assured us that we live on a spinning ball. He also assured us that we're not in a recession. You're just not going to believe your stationary and empty belly, are you? Okay. Fair enough. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support, Godzilla. Also, shout out to Ben White, who's sent us a member super chat. Thank you very much indeed. I asked someone, is there any evidence of gravity? Gravitational lensing is proof of gravity. This is the answer I got. Observation of light in the sky. It's a begging the question fallacy, though, isn't it? Gravitational lensing. Gravitational lensing would be the description of your fourth-dimensional space-time bending. So conceptual mediums that bend to describe an observation of a phenomena that's not being described with a cause and effect relationship, but instead with a just-so story, with a reification of a non-force force that you can think of as a force that bends fourth-dimensional space-time we don't live in. That's gravitational lensing. There's a lot of begging the question going on there, but really appreciate your...
It's even worse than that, because does light have mass? No. So how could it even conceptually work within their model? It doesn't.
Wait, you can describe it mathematically.
How can gravity bend something that doesn't have mass? Really, I don't think people don't realize this.
Because the answer is because even us confuse the two systems. They just said that it's not relevant to the mass. It's a displacement of space-time itself. So what's bending it is a track. Imagine an imaginary train track. That's what's bending it, not a force. It's just a path that it takes. But anyway, the reason why they had to abandon
mass or density. So how can it even respond to alleged gravity of any form? It wouldn't.
Well, I just answered. The very matrix of space and time in which it exists has been displaced in coordinates, so it's now in a different location. There's the answer. But anyway, they had to abandon Newtonian because they're trying to make a universal level theory in principle. And Newton himself recognized that his theory, quote unquote, which never made it to a theory, to be honest, can't explain it because you need an infinite universe in order for his mass attracts mass to function. So he abandoned it. And in fact, he himself said anyone who believes this is nonsensical. So what they needed is a thing that was effectively infinite, being an expanding universe, hence relativity.
I'm sorry, but it still doesn't make any sense, right? If space itself, if the volumetric aspect is displaced because of gravitational lensing or whatever, how is that going to actually displace the light? It wouldn't. The light is just going to go through the displaced space unabated.
No.
There is no logical
Not space.
conclusion that would make light bend.
Not space. No. The fabric of space-time. The mass bends the fourth-dimensional fabric of the space-time. Talking about geodesics in space-time now. We're not talking about what happens in reality. We're talking about what happens in the conceptual fourth-dimensional medium. And he's right.
It doesn't matter.
Hold on, Arwin. He also agreed with you. He's like, no, I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm just describing how they describe it. That's all he did. Very well, too.
Yeah,
I
fair.
agree with that,
And
but
if
it
you have a
still doesn't
train,
matter because
listen, if you have
even
a
within the
train,
conceptual medium, it
yeah, that's
doesn't
great.
can't actually do that.
Yeah, we know that. He's not
Okay,
saying it can.
we know that. It's not the point.
Just describing what they
You
describe
do?
in pseudo-Riemannian force space. He's not saying that's physical or that happens or that's reality. It isn't. We know it isn't. You know it isn't. But you're rumpusing him while he's just detailing what's described in Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian force space when the fabric of that fourth dimensional space-time is bent by the uneven distribution of mass. That's how it's described. Does that make
I
sense?
understand that. I understand that. My point is, a bit nitpicky, is that even if you go with that time-space bending formula of reality and how it's supposed to work up to a certain degree, mostly mathematical, then even within that conceptual framework, it can't work. It doesn't make any sense. Light wouldn't bend, even in pseudo-Riemannian force
Check this
space.
out.
Makes no sense.
Check this out. I'll make it very simple. If you have a train and it has a track and the track deviates, the train follows the track. There you go. I don't know how much simpler I could put it.
Ah, I
Okay,
got
well,
it.
yeah, you can see that the train tracks deviate, but that train's still going, right? The train being light, it's still gonna go. Doesn't matter if the tracks are
Right,
not
but it
in
follows the
place they're
track.
supposed to be. The light's gonna
Right,
keep
Literally.
going.
Owen, right. The tracks remain parallel,
Ugh.
right? And what he's saying is that's a straight path as far as the train's concerned. There's no steering wheel, right? Well, that's analogous to a bending geodesic in space-time. That's what he's comparing it to.
Yeah. And
That was a
light
good
would
one.
not be affected within pseudo-Riemannian force space.
It
There
wouldn't, but they're
is no way
describing
that
it as
it could bend.
they're describing it as moving straight, but also bending space-time, Arwin. You know, even in the description, I get what you're saying. You're saying it doesn't make sense mathematically either. I get what you're saying.
Exactly.
No, I do understand, and you're both right. But nobody here, we're all friends here. Nobody thinks this is real. We've just got a really good understanding of what it is described to be.
It's
Yeah,
just so
it's basically
farcical
like
that
this.
there's
If
this claim of gravity based on the light bending. When you dig into the material that's at the groundwork of these claims, that entire claim makes no sense within their presuppositions.
That's the
It
third
makes
time
no
you said
sense.
it. Thank you, Arwin. Just let me shout out Godzilla. Thank you for the super chat. He says, hey, free message. Hi, Chocolate.
Yo, what's up, Godzilla? Shout out to you, brother.
Thank you for the super
Yo,
chat.
yo.
Go ahead, whoever it was that was speaking last.
Oh, by the way, Arwen knew the answer to the thing that 10th Man was punting him because he's the one that posited it in the show, like not a couple of months ago, where it was the conflict between Einsteinian and Newtonian and how they're used at disparate times to explain phenomena, but neither of them can explain the universe in total. That's why they have to do the bait and switch between them on the fly.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't.
Any single viable hypothesis.
Sometimes the universe...
Go on.
Sometimes the universe is infinite. Sometimes it's finite. Sometimes the Earth has a radius of 3,000, and sometimes it has a radius of 40,000.
Sometimes the sun is
whatever's needed at the moment.
Sometimes the sun is 93 million miles away. Sometimes it's an infinite distance away. Sometimes the stars have got a measurable light year distance, and sometimes they're an infinite distance. It just depends whether or not you're measuring a flat Earth elevation angle or not.
Whatever you need
Yeah,
in
sometimes
the
you can ping. Sometimes you can ping the distance to the sun with radar, and sometimes it's a black body which absorbs everything.
Exactly. Hey, Eli.
Oh God, yes, that too.
Yellow.
Oh.
It's almost a black body. That was my favourite when QE first pointed out to me, because obviously black body's not an unfamiliar term to most people, me included. So I'm like, well, what does a black body mean? Well, it doesn't return anything. It absorbs all of it. So when they describe it as almost being a black body, it's like almost being a bit pregnant. What? No. You're either a black body or you're not. What are you talking about?
It's
No,
a
we get a
dark
return.
matter composite material.
We get a return signal. It's definitely sending back, but it's a black body, isn't it? No, not quite. do you mean not quite? So it's not a black body. Why is it described as being a black body then? Just one of their typical contradictions in terms when they need an explanation to overcome some problem that they've got, and there's already a bit of rhetoric that says something about something. It doesn't matter to them. They just incorporate it with doublespeak. It's not like they have any issue with two different explanations being simultaneously accepted when you go into looking at citations. You know, that's most true with Coriolis effect than anything else. Well, Coriolis effect doesn't develop any effect. Everything's tracking with the Earth. Well, obviously it's all drifting apart at 15 degrees an hour. Here's my proof of it drifting. 15 degrees. That's the difference per hour. When there's no difference that you won't see because you wouldn't expect to see any. You're like, do you not see the glaring contradiction in what you're telling me? No, it's all perfectly reasonable. Here's a citation that contradicts itself. Therefore, that's what it's claiming. So it claims the very contradiction that you're telling me about then. All right. We'll fool you.
And that's the problem right there. Is that how much time do you think they spend trying to salvage their contradictions that their own narrative gives them, and then try to present that to some type of an audience to make it make sense?
Yeah, we've got a container.
That's literally what kind of container? All the time.
We've got a container. What kind of container? Well, it's an air container. Well, what do you mean? Well, the air's containing the air. Oh, okay. How well does it do that? Well, really well. It keeps all the air on Earth, apart from the helium. That has a diffusion rate into the sky vacuum. So it's a non-container that's containing stuff with gas that has gaps between it, and the gaps between it are holding other gas in and simultaneously letting other gas out. That's what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Why is that? Well, because gravity. Oh, so you think there's a force that's not a force that we can think of as a force that's actually a fourth dimensional space-time bending that makes gas go down. Gas doesn't go down. It's created at ground level and makes its way up. I mean, it spreads out as it does so. It's called diffusion, as it's expanding in all directions at a high velocity. But it definitely isn't falling down like rain. That's liquid that does that. Gas doesn't behave like that. Gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom with gravity. It expands to fill a space. So space is a space for the gas we're breathing to fill. So while they might think they've got some non-container container that's gas with gaps that's actually containing, it isn't. It's just that space, outer space, is fake. It would be an area of volume that the gas we're breathing could fill. Is there any evidence that you can have the gas pressure that we're all enjoying without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No, there is not.
Just more gas, apparently. So silly.
Or you have to think of gas as puddles. And then just the lighter gas like floats on the heavier gas like oil on water.
The gas container of gas contains all the gas that it contains, except the gas that it doesn't contain. That checks out.
Exactly.
Ben White says the prior question was in relation to a sniper's bullet. The problem that seems to be overlooked is the assumption made of what is between the observer and the object, in this case, lights in the sky. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Ben White. Really appreciate it.
Nathan, when I get propane, they don't offer me a choice between a heavier gas as a container to carry the propane, the lighter gas, or say a solid metal container. They just put it in a solid metal container. But if what they were saying was true, can I ask for another way of carrying that propane home for my barbecue unit? Like, can you put some sulfur hexafluoride around the gas I'm buying and then put a handle on it so I could take it home?
Yeah, just put it in this wheelbarrow.
Well, that's a container still.
That's silly.
Yeah, but for gas pressure, you need a sealed container.
Yeah, it's the death of them.
If you think that's silly, wait till you hear about this ball that's got gas pressure surrounding it, flying around while in a vacuum. Wait till you hear about that.
What
No,
kind
but
of gas?
when you give an example like Ten said, they say, well, you're being ridiculous now. But they're not putting it together that, yes, it is ridiculous. You need a container.
With all the people on this earth, what kind of gas are you talking about, Chocolate?
Say that again.
with all the people that populate this Earth, what kind of gas are you talking about, given their vernacular?
I think he's fishing for Atmo.
No, remember all the sci-fi
Nah,
movies?
apparently that's not a word, so that can't be an argument.
It's a prefix.
No, based on the sci-fi movies, with all the people, we can go to the farthest region of space.
Oh my God! You know, I was looking. I thought it was gonna be something like that, but God.
It's
Did anybody
very
want to
astute observation of you.
come again?
I was just saying that was a very astute observation.
Astute.
I'd say that was a very cheeky comment.
Oh boy.
Let's move on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Astrophysics. Right when we're having fun, you want to move on. Unbelievable.
Negative.
Good. I thought you were moving on. Why are you talking about astrophysics?
Boom, boom.
Astrophysics.
Well, is there? Jokes and puns aside.
Nah.
Not as far
There's none of
as
that.
you can throw it.
Oh,
I mean,
goddamn.
they got phenomenons all day to look at, but as far as a viable hypothesis where you could actually have an independent variable that's manipulatable, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Right. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
That's hysterical.
Right, can someone fill dead air? I've
We did.
left
What
the windows behind my projector open, behind the screen, and there's somebody lawn mowing, so I'm going to have to go and figure that out. It'll take me a couple of minutes. Hopefully you won't leave dead air. Just give me a sec.
Well, when they put the globe model in front of you as a young child, and chocolate, you had it hanging over your crib, I hear, or your bed, right? The solar system, the way the globe has it. Yeah. So they programmed you from the beginning, and then when you are able to understand language, they say, "Oh, there's a molten iron core in the middle of this." So they've already programmed you. It's this ball flying through the vacuum of space. So what's not hard to accept if you're being programmed and conditioned that there's a molten iron core in the middle at this point?
I mean, that's cool and stuff when you're a kid, but when you're become an adult and you're like, oh, the furthest we've dug is about 8 miles, and supposedly this molten iron core starts where? How do we know that thing is there? I don't know. Looks like a far cry from reality to me.
It seems like even if it's there, which it's not doing its job because gravity's not a force.
And if it's going to be the core, we would have to go back to question 1, right? Core would be at the core of a ball. That ball would also need curvature. I don't know if we got any of that. So
Can I give you the ultimate normie answer?
okay, Norby, go ahead.
Yeah. So, hey, well, if there wasn't a magnetic molten iron core, then what would prevent, there wouldn't be any magnetic field to prevent the solar radiation from killing everything on Earth.
Well,
right?
they claim the magnetic field does that. That was a pointless endeavour. I shut the windows, and as soon as I did, you can just hear it from one of the other windows that are open. So I'm like, oh, I'm not going to close them all. So if you can hear lawn mowing sounds, my bad.
Nothing coming through here.
They stopped the
Have
second.
I missed the housekeeping questions, Nathan?
I'm molten iron core at the moment.
Have we got to? Is there any other evidence of Earth rotation?
We have covered it, but we'll come back to it after molten iron core gags are over.
Go on then.
Oh, it looks like they are. They've all got tuckered out and puns
The
for the
answer
molten
for
iron
that
core.
was C question 1.
Did Owen not just ask a serious question that I've now almost sidetracked, or did I answer you, Aaron? I've forgotten already.
Yeah, he did. But then I would say to Arwen's question, who told you that? Are they the same people that told you the first one?
Yeah, well, where else am I going to get my information but from the priesthood? I'm a normie.
Right. So don't you want to vet it and make sure that you got the proper information, that it's logical, it could be either measured or verified somehow, or do you just accept what everyone tells you?
I have. I asked them, is this logical? And
Oh, you
tested,
asked
and they
them.
said yes.
Oh, okay. So you
Are you satisfied with that?
Well, I would have to be. I'm a
it not-
normie.
Yeah. Is it not an argument from silence? Along with a false dichotomy. In other words, it works the same as Whitsitt's argument for the ether. Well, there's nothing to disprove that there's anything to the contrary. Therefore, it must be my explanation of a molten iron core. And then you can stack that up in false dichotomy after you've got somebody to accept that. That there needs to be two explanations. One, which is, well, you can't just have no thing producing the molten iron core. You've got to have something
Nathan,
producing the... Go on.
That's about the magnetic field protecting us from the solar radiation. So it's like ping pong between two different presuppositions.
are you going to make a standalone, just that back and forth between you and Whitsitt
You are.
recording? Are you going to make a standalone, just show just the part you and Whitsitt were going back and forth the other day, which was really good?
Yeah, I'll definitely trim those bits out. There's several. There's
Okay.
quite a lot of meat on that bone, as it stands.
No, I'm saying in context, just from beginning to end, that's a good one to have.
Oh, you don't think I should do any editing to it?
No, you should do the editing for your shorts and then also release a full copy of the whole thing.
That would be the
Not-
edited video. I don't tend to just... It may seem that way because it flows nicely, but typically if you're watching something that isn't the original live show, it's had a significant amount of editing work done, even if it's a 15 to 20 minute video. It might seem like all of it, but it isn't.
No, I understand. I'm not saying that kind of editing. I'm saying so that from conception to end, we don't miss anything. Edit all you want, but just have it as one thing.
Okay, yeah, I'll cut and edit the debate with Whitsitt into a standalone video.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Okay, so I was outside in the garden before and I was looking up to the sky and I saw this unusual phenomena and I wondered what was the cause of the phenomena that I was observing. And essentially I'm looking at a contrail through a layer of clouds, low-lying clouds. And it just so happens to be in the picture there's a telephone wire across the bottom corner and you can see which is moving relative to what. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to claim that we are looking perfectly west and that the contrail is traveling perfectly west. And bear in mind that pendulums are claimed to show the rotation of Earth because the pendulum is supposed to be drifting. And that's supposed to because it's not. They say it's not connected to the Earth and it's in a different frame of reference. And the Earth moving around it is supposed to prove that the Earth rotating, right? It stands to reason that everything that's not in the same frame of reference as the Earth must also drift too. Now they claim that the Coriolis effect, that the atmosphere rotates with the Earth. Well, if that was the case, and planes are not in that, and they're supposed to be suffering the effects of Earth's turn, this is what we should see with contrails all the time. We should see the clouds relative to the contrail moving at different frames of reference, and it should show that there is apparent drift perceived. And obviously, we don't see it. But if the Earth was turning, we would always see this effect, always, because the plane is not moving in the same frame of reference as the Earth rotation, and this would appear to the observer as drift, but we don't see it. Does anybody want to pass any opinions on this? I think it's a brilliant video.
Well, that's absolutely great. We don't see drift. We should see drift. They claim we will see drift. They claim there's 15 degrees an hour of it, observable in a second reference frame. That's anything not attached to a spinning reference frame. In order to see this drift, called Coriolis effect, which they claim, we must be on an Earth that's turning beneath things that aren't attached to see the drift. There isn't any drift. Anthony's saying, look, here's an example of nothing drifting. Now, don't get me wrong, you could get your nitpickers that come along and say, that's not a wide enough time frame to see Earth turning beneath to cause Coriolis effect. The only way it's induced, if you turn beneath things, you will see a Coriolis effect in an inertial reference frame that isn't attached to your reference frame that's spinning beneath it. That's the globe Earth claim. So for it to be true, we must be turning beneath stuff and we're not.
Because if we were turning underneath the plane and the plane was separate to us the way that pendulums are claimed to be, then you would see contrails doing this all the time. It would always be in a westerly direction because the Earth is rotating from the west to the east. And we don't see this. This is a one-off. This doesn't happen all the time, does it? It's a one-off occurrence. But it should be all the time. We should always see it. Doesn't happen, though. Brilliant video.
This looks like some clouds to me, no offence, with a telephone wire as reference. But there's nowhere near enough duration to claim anything.
You're not seeing the contrail. You're not seeing the contrail move differently.
I know what it is. You've just explained it to me. I'm not dumb. I'm just saying that the time frame isn't long enough for anybody to claim anything in that regard. But yeah, your point is still 100% valid. The fact that it's got some visual aid to go with it is great.
And now I'll play ball.
Do you think that would be the same thing? My bad, I didn't mean to cut you off. But do you think that would be the same thing as because I've seen video where there are star trails, like they do the time lapse with the star trails, and then you'll have an airplane fly right through it, completely straight line. You see from the airplane, but you got the star trails above it, completely circular. And it's like something's not stirring the Kool-Aid here because the only thing that's supposed to be moving is the Earth here. So what the hell is that about? You got a straight line going through these star trails, which are completely circular. And then you got this contrail from the plane, completely straight, when that should be deviating just as well.
Exactly.
Just for completeness, I'll now play the ball earther, the anti-flat earther position, just to show the alternative perspective. This is proof that the Earth is turning, Riley. You're so stupid. You're showing that's the Coriolis effect. You're showing that the planes are turning. The Earth's turning, the planes appear to be turning. That's apparent drift. Welcome to flat ball Earth. That's what they would say. That's their argument. They
that would shorten flight times. If that is actual drift that we're observing, so the claim is by the globe that Earth turns beneath the clouds and the flight because they're not attached, and you're spinning beneath them to see them appear to drift. The apparent deflection, i.e. the thing in the inertial reference frame, plane or cloud, isn't actually doing anything in regards to what you're going to describe. And what you're going to describe is the appearance of it taking a curved path that isn't real. Just looks that way because you're turning beneath. So you only have this effect if you're turning beneath and the globes claim to have it. It's called Coriolis effect. So it'll only be in effect if we're turning beneath, and the effect is us looking at it going, oh wow, it looks like it's curving. That's Coriolis deflection according to the globe Earth claim. Why are the stars curving through your field of view at 15 degrees now? Because Earth's claim to turn beneath them. That's why you see that effect according to the globe. But that means you're turning beneath aeroplanes. Now when this example comes forth, you've got two different reference frames being convoluted into the one. One's showing a drift, 15 degrees an hour in the stars. The other isn't. But we're supposed to be turning beneath this stuff to have the effect. So you shouldn't have this contradiction. But we do, because Earth's not turning.
Yeah, they don't like talking about it when it comes to planes, because they want to ignore planes, because that's where you would perceive drift if it really was drifting. But when it comes to pendulums, they would definitely want pendulums to be proven drift there. But they say, oh, it's powered flight. So they claim exemption. Well, powered flight or not, if it's not connected to the Earth and it's in a different frame of reference, we've got to perceive drift. All contrails should do this, and it should always be westerly. Doesn't happen though.
Yeah, the drift will be always, without exception, because if let's say you're on a roundabout, it doesn't matter how fast you're moving on the roundabout, which way you're facing on the roundabout. If something isn't attached to the roundabout, from your position, it looks like it's moving in a strange path that it isn't really moving in. Doesn't matter if it's a tree limb hanging over the top of the roundabout. It's obviously rooted into the ground, but as you look up at it, turning beneath, because you're turning beneath, the branch looks like it's moving. That's the effect. Something moving or looking like it moves when it doesn't really. Well, Coriolis is something looking like it takes a curved path, not because it really does, but because you're claimed on a turning Earth to be turning beneath it. So we're claimed to be turning beneath aeroplanes, and that would shorten their flight times.
Isn't this the part where they would then say, we don't understand what the globe Earth claims? We don't understand the model. We're stupid, because that's what all I ever see from them. Nathan doesn't understand.
I've got a nice swift reply now.
North to south.
Well, my swift reply is the globe claims Coriolis effect. Are you going to launch into something that isn't an explanation about how we're turning beneath things? Because that's the only way to induce a Coriolis effect. The only way to experience what the globe claims, let's get that clear, Coriolis effect, is if you are turning beneath things. So the globe claims we are turning beneath things to experience Coriolis effect. That's definitely the claim. So when they start explaining how Earth and atmosphere move together, well, that's not going to induce Coriolis effect, because Coriolis effect, which is what the globe claims, only occurs if we're turning beneath things.
I did actually see a valid point from Akumo virus the other day. He said, Nathan doesn't understand what the Earth claims. He says that Coriolis effect, by definition, only affects north to south. By exclusion, or by implication, he was inferring that it didn't affect anything east to west. So if it goes north to south and only north to south, then it's called Coriolis. But if it goes 179 degrees and 1 degree instead of 180 and 0, then that's not Coriolis, because it's not true north and true south. And that was the point he was making. By definition, if it's not true north and true south, then it's not Coriolis.
No, incorrect. Coriolis effect is only induced and observed if you turn beneath things. It is, by definition, the not actual deflection observed from a non-inertial turning reference frame, aka spinning roundabout or claimed to be turning Earth, of an item appearing, that's not actual, to deflect in the inertial reference frame. So if we take the example with your incorporated chemo criticism of north and south, and we have a roundabout, it makes no odds if I write north, south, east, west off the roundabout or on the roundabout. When I toss a ball over the top of it and watch it look like it's curving when it's travelling in a straight path because I'm turning beneath it, it makes absolutely no directional difference whatsoever. You just see it seem to curve when it isn't really, because you're turning beneath it. It's the only way the effect is induced or described.
I think it's the topic, it's the one topic where they convolute it so much that it ends up being a total confusion of the point. The point is that if Earth is turning, then we've got to see the effect of it in the sky. We don't see the effect of it in the sky. End of argument, end of globe. It's that simple.
Well, therefore, Earth isn't turning. You had a nice logical syllogism. Yeah. Excellent. Perfect.
And it would be simple. We would just see this all the time, everywhere. Because that's what's happening, right? So it's not like we wouldn't see it. We wouldn't even have to debate it. It would just be a thing that's happening that we see. And we don't.
Excellent. Yes, there is no Coriolis drift at 15 degrees an hour. Nothing is drifting away from my location at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. That doesn't happen.
I did get a good comment. He said, I watched the overhead wire in the video. Relative to the cloud, relative to it, the clouds and the clouds all move, but the contrail does not. So he was changing the perspective by referencing the frame of reference being the wire that is in the bottom right-hand corner. And he's right. The wire is not moving relative to the cloud, well, relative to the contrail. So it's like by changing the perspective, changes how you perceive it. But the point is, if the Earth was turning, we should see that all the time, always. We never see it, ever. It's rare that you ever get that. It's just a fluke set of weather, like environmental factors that make it possible. But you don't see that often. So it's like, well, it's a good day to be on our side.
But if they claim, it doesn't matter if it's from our side as a misapprehension or from an anti-flat earther's side, or from a novice globe believer that doesn't realise his own claim, it makes no odds. To have this effect, that's Coriolis effect induced, you must be turning beneath. if a globe believer, anti-flat earther or novice comes along and declares that they have a proof of Coriolis effect, which is the globe claim, then they're claiming to have a proof that Earth turns beneath things for us to see them seem to drift. That's what Coriolis is. You have to be part of a turning reference frame turning beneath things to have the effect. The moment they try to convince you that they have a proof, for example, gyroscopes. Thanks, Bob. You've proved Earth turned beneath the gyro at 15 degrees an hour. All right, so Earth is a non-inertial turning reference frame turning beneath things at 15 degrees an hour, like gyros, pendulums, bullets, footballs, and the stars. He's proved that, has he? Well, that means Earth is turning beneath helicopters and hot air balloons and flights at 15 degrees an hour, and that would significantly shorten the flight times on a plane. It would mean a helicopter taking off on the equator would drift away from your position at 1,000 miles an hour. It would mean hot air balloon could launch up, effectively only go in a straight path upwards, but from your position on the ground, it looks like it's drifting away from you on the equator 1,000 miles an hour, said nobody ever. Because hot air balloons do not drift away from your position turning beneath them at the equator at 1,000 miles an hour. They can go up in the air and land exactly where they came from if there's no wind. They definitely don't drift away from you 1,000 miles an hour because Earth's turning beneath them to see Coriolis effect, and that's the only way we'll see the effect. If we're turning beneath them, we're not. Did we cover everything in the housekeeping? Everyone's racking their brains going, did we cover everything? What was every question? Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius?
R, that old bird. Black Swan.
Yeah, we covered it in the first question. Nice to come back on yourself, though, to wrap things up nicely 5 minutes before the end of the live show.
Yep.
I think there's a valid question that we should be asking now. We should be asking anti-flat earthers, not the average normie, just anti-flat earthers. Could they recommend any honest flat earther, any honest ball earther, so that we can have a conversation? Because as far as I can see, every single one of them lies, all of them. There isn't a single one. I asked George Nutsack, did he think that Rumpus was honest? And he said yes. I was like, really? So Rumpus is considered to be honest by George Nutsack.
I've got an example. He's definitely not. See, Rumpus declared that he'd always expressed the notion of the refracted horizon when I challenged him on his use of a physical geometric tangent point horizon when debating the Isle of Man. And on no less than 3 separate occasions, he claimed he had always refracted the horizon. Absolute, outright lie. Now, when he was using a physical geometric tangent point Earth curve edge for a horizon at the Isle of Man, blocking its view with a physical feet and inches value to claim that it's Earth curve, he had in his possession Andrew Thomas Young's description of the refracted horizon. He just chose to claim it was a physical limitation, a hill called Earth curve, when saying it was blocking the Isle of Man, and then lied about it later. So that is the reason he's not welcome here, because he is a proven liar. That would be Rumpus. Just in case George Netchin wanted an example, there's a video on it with a pair of pants on fire in the thumbnail. He's a proven liar.
Yeah, he also thinks that gas molecules behave like bouncy balls. He thinks that gravity pulls them down.
So what you're saying is back then he was already aware that Andrew Thomas Young did all his refraction calculations on a flat plane. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we see them do this all the time. I've seen Rumpus go into other chats. So, for example, Jose's chat, not specifically Jose's chat, but I'll see him go into other chats, and he'll go in there and he'll be arguing for Newtonian gravitation. knowing that Newtonian gravitation is no longer the current position in science. It's been replaced, superseded, debunked by Einstein. But if you can get away with it, as long as he can preach that message, Rumpus will do that, even though he knows it's wrong.
That's what liars do.
No, that's called a deceiver. That is a deceiver.
Yep.
Same thing.
I agree.
Same thing. What's the difference?
I mean, when have you ever seen a ball earther correct another ball earther and say, well, actually, gravity's not a force, it's an effect of the curvature of space-time caused by the uneven distribution of mass that we perceive as an acceleration, a visual acceleration, more akin to a refraction? When have you ever seen them say that? Never, ever.
I could,
ever.
if we were ball earthers, Anthony, I could respond to you in that question being asked with the response, but how does it know to be food? And you would pat me on the back as a ball earther.
How does it know to be food?
Oh my God, I was thinking the same thing, Nathan.
We could talk completely past each other, and my response to you could be so non sequitur that nobody, even if they were insane, could keep up with the conversation because it's totally non sequitur response. And even in spite of that, we would still pat each other on the back like we'd just had a coherent conversation if we were ballers or anti-flat earthers.
Yeah.
That's exactly why Rumpus goes there, because he wants to be patted on the back.
I was watching Bev Try Thinking dissecting a Blue Marble Science video where Blue Marble Science was trying to dissect Bev Try Thinking's video, so it was a bit weird to keep up with it. But basically, a guy had gone into Blue Marble Sciences, and Blue Marble Sciences said, hey, spaghetti measured angles or something like that. It was a reference to the show, and he says, good job. And I was like, he was wrong on that point. And Blue just didn't even understand that the guy was being criticised on the applied point that he was congratulating him on. And I was like, this is just delusion. It's like you don't realise that the guy was being criticised and was demonstrated to be wrong because you need two straight lines for an angle. You can't have a spaghetti angle. And he's there patting him on the back. It's like, hello.
We do.
Anthony, in their world, they can have that. That's the whole thing. Bendizanto.
You're talking about the spaghetti angle that was used by Ruhif in the John discussion, if that's what you're talking about. He criticised John when John tried to qualify how you could derive a straight line through the wiggly ones. And he was berated on the spot for it, to later have that be precisely what they applied. You realise that, right? Is that what you mean by spaghetti angle? He's probably dealing with a dog right at the wrong moment, isn't he?
No, I think the spaghetti thing, I think there was a guy named, what was his name? I Can Science That or something, who took spaghetti and put it on top of a cell phone. And that's how he was establishing a horizontal plane.
What?
Because you know how Bev's...
Just say that again.
You know how Bev's thing is levels horizontal. And that a water level is a tool for establishing a horizontal plane of reference.
That is not what you just said, but go on.
No, I know. But he had a guy named I Can Science That go on his show and try to prove, first of all, this guy claimed that science teaches us that water level is not a tool to establish a horizontal plane of reference, right? He says that science teaches that. And he also said that he's a teacher, engineer, teacher, something like that. But anyway, to discount what Bev did, and to claim that what Bev did was wrong, what he did was simply take a piece of spaghetti and put it on top of a cell phone and claim that he just established a horizontal plane with spaghetti on a cell phone.
With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hit the thanks button and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
And a human is finite.
No, it's not, man. I put that under a crusher, and that diamond ain't a diamond
Which
no
would
more.
actually make the value of the human being more than the diamond, wouldn't it? If the diamond lasts forever. Yes, thank you. That's called a limited resource, which means the human being is worth more than the diamond. Thank you for once again contradicting your model.
Good little flip there, but it's not really relevant in the same way. That's when you put like you're talking about like with Bitcoin being finite, therefore it's more valuable because we're trying to get it.
So in the absence of R, we're going to go to diamonds?
Are we ready for it?
So you're going to go to diamonds
Yeah,
to prove flat Earth?
Who's going to walk the plank?
I listened in on Blue's show too. They were really going all out, congratulating the spaghetti guy, saying it was epic and that was the coolest thing ever, and he really proved it to him with the spaghetti and the phone.
Wow.
It's
serious?
I love it. That offered pain relief, eh? Wow, that's ace.
The whole
Oh my
diamonds is
God.
forever thing is just an advertisement, though.
I know.
It's a saying.
The,
It's not a.
the best part is
It's so
the guy
weird.
calls himself, I can science that. It was the weirdest thing I ever seen this weekend, man, I swear. Like, he literally was saying, science teaches us that a water level is not a tool to establish horizontal place of reference. So, like, what?
Obviously,
and nobody,
doesn't know what science is.
The only problem I really had with it is nobody really held him to task on it. So,
That's
didn't
because
show
he's not
citation or support or any of that.
He's not keeping up with QE's scientific method that we've been going over on Ball Busters for the last month and a half.
Sounds like they lost their R and everything that they had before, and now they're turning to food.
And their minds and their logic.
What logic? It's mission impossible.
It's
pretty
impossible.
Mission impossible.
Impossible. Oh, that's very funny. Mission impossible. All right.
Yep.
Did somebody name it that, or did we just name it that?
By the way, that was 10th Man that just said it. I will not take credit for something 10th Man said.
We need to get.
I was repeating it.
We need Neil to go to Godfather. We need Alfredo.
No, it wasn't 10th Man. I think Brian came up with that a couple of weeks ago from memory.
Let him have it
like
for a
fifth
minute.
time I've heard you say that, Nathan.
Nathan likes to spread the whatever around.
It is kind of similar to how they, you come up with the globe to begin with. It's like somebody just went to their kitchen, made a conception, and was like, look, if you take this spaghetti strainer and I divide it by pi, you live on a globe.
You would think that the guy that would come up with the spaghetti example would be Vsauce.
Just need to incorporate that into John's making his whole house spherical by way of elevation angle measurements to his lighting fixtures in the kitchen. We've got to incorporate that into the spaghetti horizontal. That's got to be done. Somehow, those two must meet.
Nothing with Vsauce, huh?
Yeah, I prefer tomato sauce.
That's what I need for my pasta, some Vsauce.
I kind of sympathize. I don't know if sympathize is the right word, but I kind of feel for the I can science that and see him as semi-honest, like he's trying to be honest in his understanding of things. And then somebody told me that his very first, coming out party was he was going to help create a better flat earther with science. And then I kind of lost my feelings for him.
Doesn't know what science is.
Am I to understand he used the spaghetti as a tangent plane?
Sounds like it, yeah.
The phone.
Well, he needs to put it over a dingleberry if he's going to do it right.
I said it before. He was disagreeing with Bev because Bev was able to establish a horizontal plane of reference using a water level. This guy told him, why did you do all that? Wasting your time getting water levels and all this crap. Look, I got spaghetti. Look, I got a cell phone. I put a piece of spaghetti on a cell phone, and look, I've just established a horizontal plane, realizing Euclid.
All this time when I was in, all this time
you
when
can't make this shit up, man.
Listen, Chocolate, all this time when I was doing woodworking and needed a level, like a spirit level, I could use spaghetti. My goodness, why didn't I come up with that?
That's what I'm thinking. What the hell am I using that 12-foot level for?
I know, I could
take
eat
some spaghetti
and work. You could eat and work at the same time, Neil.
I won't even need a lunch break.
Well, he did set up a plane. I mean, he did. He did establish a plane, but it is funny again how, I mean, to prove that the Earth is a ball, they use everything but the Earth to prove that it's a ball. They put planes up in the air and under the ground, everywhere but the Earth to prove the Earth.
Look, as funny as this is, can we can it now? Can we put it on the back burner for a bit?
Oh, pen it for your thoughts.
That was a good one. Because without the back burner, we ain't getting no pasta.
Let's move past it. Come on.
Okay, Nathan, if you can go to War Room and scroll up.
Go to what?
To the slides, to the War Room. Scroll up to yesterday. I put up some slides. The first one is Ruhif in a copied text saying there is no triangle in celestial navigation. And from there we could proceed.
Where's the first one? Oh, there
Just
is no
scroll
triangle in celestial. Okay, I got you. Hold on. Okay.
All right. So this is a screen capture, Ruhif. There's no triangle in celestial navigation. Let's see if he gets past to this moment. Harold Jacoby, next slide. Navigation. The Sextant, chapter 6. When you look at this and realize who this person is in astronomy, you realize that he knows what he's talking about. If you go in the middle section of it, it says, the point directly overhead is the zenith. The angle between lines drawn to horizon and zenith is 90 degrees, or a right angle. Okay, Ruhif or Harold Jacoby. Next one. It's highlighted right there. Go to the next series of slides, GPS, GNSS. Do you see that?
Yep.
This is going to be fun. Remember when we first came out with it? They said it's trilateration, it's not triangulation. Remember that?
Yeah, Mr. Sensible said it. That's the only one I remember,
Yeah.
But yes.
All right, we'll go to this next slide from that book. Celestial navigation is based on the triangulation method, in which celestial bodies are used as reference points. And the GPS is based on the concept of trilateration, which uses GPS satellites. Again, the anti-flat earthers are going against science, or what they call science.
Wow.
Next book, Crafting Phenomenological Research. The term triangulation appears to be rooted in celestial navigation of the seas. That is, triangulating coordinates which help guide a ship as it sails. Next slide. U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary Aids to Navigation and Chart Updating Manual. Distances and lengths can be determined by various methods, including direct measurement with a tape, lines, rangefinder, statometer, or by triangulation using a sextant. Next slide. Final Flight, a true story, the mystery of World War II plane crash and the frozen airmen in the High Sierra. In the last third of their training, navigation cadets used an octant to practice celestial navigation, sequentially sighting at least 2 stars through a small telescope or peephole on older instruments. The navigator used the octant to measure an angle between the horizon and those celestial objects. The results were shown at the bottom of the instrument on a protractor's arc that represents an eighth of a circle, hence an octant or eighth. By knowing the time of day and determining the position of the celestial objects, navigators use triangulation to locate their place on the ground. Next slide. Rhythms of the Brain. Can't pronounce his name. Oxford University Press. In simplest form, celestial or, now get this is important. In simplest form, celestial or landmark navigation is triangulation problem. Triangulation involves affixing the object's location via triangles. Now, the or landmark would mean a horizontal angle if your ship is near the shore and you're going to use a lighthouse in a church building and you turn your sextant sideways to get a horizontal angle. So that's the or. But look at what it can do. It can triangulate that way, but it can also triangulate when holding it vertical using the stars as in celestial. Pretty awesome quotes, right, Nathan?
Epic. Do you want me to put his comment back up?
You can, and then after that, go to Master B. I got two more. Where you at?
I'm just grabbing it. I'm just getting to the first slide. Once it's presented,
Okay.
which it is now, you can go ahead.
Okay, a sextant works by triangulation, the principle that says if you know the location of 3 points and your distance from each, you can calculate your own location using simple geometry. The optics in a sextant let you sight the horizon and the sun, moon, or star simultaneously. The scale indicates the apparent altitude of the object in the sky. This came from The New Face of War, How War Will Be Fought in the 21st Century. Okay, last slide. Shown this before. Show me proof. Takes on several subjects, trying to vet out, is it true? Is it nonfiction, fiction, etc. And then go to the source. It says right here, underlined, a sextant, a triangulation tool used by mariners, allowed explorers to plot the globe by triangulating the stars with each other and the horizon to ascertain longitude, latitude at sea. So still a baller, still a glober, but has to admit it's triangulation. And triangles, 3 straight lines, angles are 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex, 90, don't say it. I think it's over for the anti-flat earthers. What do you guys say?
Yeah, they've got to. It's not going to be a baller that can just palm it off and say, yeah, we're using triangulation on a ball. No, that doesn't work because you can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. But they're not having that put to them, so they don't have to make any egregious disclaimers about not needing to be using a triangle, right, Rufy? Yeah, you do. Thanks, Ted.
So you're welcome. I contrast this to what Chocolate was saying with the guy saying water levels aren't used for anything when they've been used forever. Denying the obvious. They deny the obvious what a sextant does. You need that baseline. And water always finds its level at rest, and they've used it forever.
Yeah, thanks. Superb. I like how we have these mini presentations in the pre-show and after show.
Thank you. More coming on different subjects. I'm just going to embarrass these guys because they're lying. They're outright lying.
Don't need a triangle. It does make you wonder who has brought him to the point where he's making those comments. I don't know who that was a response to, but kudos to whoever led Ruhif to making that stupid declaration.
Now you know why he avoided refractive curvature's first point and wanted to go into a process after admitting the only way he could get his angle was on the flat plane.
I'm an idiot and talk to an idiot. If you don't have a triangle in celestial navigation, as they say, how do you know how far you are from your destination?
You don't. The whole thing's based on using triangles. It's an absolutely ridiculous, stupid thing to say, Paul.
Okay, so that makes sense. So you have to have a triangle to know how far you are from where you're going. Okay, cool. So I'm not so stupid after all.
Don't forget the 90-degree angles.
Nobody said you were stupid. Hold on. Who said you were? That was an interesting bit of self-deprecation there, Paul. I just wonder why you would drop that in there at the end.
I'm trying to act like I'm a stupid idiot, so that way I'm acting like a stupid idiot, so that way they have to treat me like that. That answer the question, which reveals that they're wrong. It's kind of a catch-22 there.
Okay, fair enough.
Nathan, sir.
Yes?
Make sure you check your Skype. There could be a potential short in there. If you'd like to take that mission.
Potential what?
A potential short.
Oh, okay.
A belly laugher. So
Is
it's up to you.
this stock advice?
No, we're not short. Well, I guess you could call it shorting their stock. Their numpty stock. Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, if only we could actually short their argument and make money off it, we'd all be rich right now. Unfortunately, we'll have to do with super chats.
Sorry, buddy. Right now, Fairy Tales has this world. Fax is creeping in, but Fairy Tales has the whole world right now.
What was the guy's name that did the spaghetti on the phone? What's his name? I can want that?
I can fuck signs up.
I can spaghetti that.
I thought he went by Alfredo.
I could pasta away from that.
Fettuccine.
That's his children.
I'm smart and I want respect. I'm not dumb.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, it's all gone very quiet, eh?
Yes. I was going to ask, how could I get over where you guys are at so we could have a VC about some other topics off of this topic?
By where you guys are at, you mean in G+?
Yeah.
Just get somebody to add you to Skype. What is it called? Master B. Have you got a Skype address?
Oh, wait, hold on. Master B's on Skype?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought it was Discord.
Nah, Skype. So I've got three forms of communication on the show. There's Skype, G+, and Discord. They all run all at the same time.
That ain't bad.
Badass is what it is, keeping track of this show.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get it. I have Skype, Telegram. I got a bunch of stuff. I got stuff that people haven't even heard of.
Well, are you going to play that short that QE tempted you with, or what?
No, it's not done. It's got to be edited. It's just the raw material.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but if it's going to be turned into a short by you, I'm not going to obviously steal your thunder before it's been edited and.
No, I'm not doing it. I gave it to you.
Oh, I see. Oh, I'll check it out.
It'll be short work for you.
I kind of wished I would have recorded the conversation with Ruhiv. We were talking about the court case where the flat earther made the challenge in court, and those two guys came to challenge it 3 different times. I wished I would have recorded it because he's like, yeah, it was right that that man won in court because they didn't, meet the challenge. But it's like they're supposed to be bringing evidence. Like, of course they're gonna lose. They don't have any.
I read QE. You posted the screen capture of Ruhiv saying science doesn't prove hypothesis to be true. Is that enough evidence to ignore this person?
I've ignored him for years.
I don't think we need just that. I mean, it's been years, right? All we need is friggin' definitions are meaningless. How many times have I told you? That's all you really need. Everything else is just barely palpable background noise. He's a retard, certifiable. Exposed on this show more times than Mae West back in the day. Now he's resurfaced with McBooger Eater. That boy. They wouldn't know what celestial navigation was if it climbed up their arse and started kicking footballs wrapped in concertina wire. That's how bad it is.
What they would do is they would think that the footballs are the wrong shape because they should be soccer balls.
They're pear-shaped.
I didn't know Neil's family business was in wires.
That's what I was going to say. How come I'm not getting no profit?
Did you want me to play this then from the timestamp?
No, I want you to hold back on that and make a short out of those two blocks of video. Somebody sent them to me.
Oh, thank you for delegating that work to me. That's so kind.
I didn't delegate it. I said, listen, if you choose to accept this mission, right, there it is. It's easy. I should have said that. I didn't delegate it. I could care less.
I don't want to watch it. I've got to be honest.
No. They're too... No.
I saw their timestamps. I saw.
Yes. Thank you.
This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
I'm not making any promises.
Yeah, I think you'll want to do this one.
I doubt it. It involves doing something I don't like doing.
We'll see. If you get some time, if you get bored.
Okay, that'll agree to. If I get bored, I'll have a look. Turn it into something if I need to.
That's a polite English way of saying, yeah, I'm not going to do it.
They know all the rest of our words. If I said I'll put it on the back burner, he would immediately know. I mean, I'm not going to. I'll take it under advisement or something like that. Words that affect most of those sorts of terms. The guys here would know what we mean, even though we're being subtle, and there's a good chance probably most of the audience wouldn't get what we're saying.
Yeah, thank you for your opinion. That's another one.
My favorite so far is I'll consider your offer.
See, Anthony, you think we don't know, but we know exactly what you're doing when you do it.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes.
Gets lost in translation.
What
We
the hell
have a
is
phrase.
what the hell is yes?
What the hell is what?
Is that like Utes?
Yeah, exactly. You got it, Chewy.
These youths.
See, Shawford is the only guy on the panel that knows how to speak Neil. He translates perfectly.
What did he say?
He said yous.
Youths.
Yous know what you're doing. No, Neil said that. Now,
Yeah, but you gotta ask. You gotta ask him again.
Apostrophe S.
Okay, it would
gotta
sound
add
very
the
ridiculous
S.
if I said, well, you gentlemen over there, we know exactly what you are all doing. Doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth.
Oh, yous. What yous are all doing?
Yous.
No, it's
Yeah,
not-
yous. Yeah,
Yeah, but you got to say it the
but he
right
said,
way. Yes.
oh
No,
my
yous can't
God.
Yes, can be.
It sounds like my cousin Vinny's skit. Could you please stop?
Exactly.
So he's saying yiz.
That's the northern version of y'all.
So, but he's
Yeah,
got.
Y-A apostrophe
Pretty
S.
much, yes.
So his version is Y-I-Z though. Yiz.
Y-A apostrophe S.
Yaz.
Yes.
That's how you spell it? What now?
That's how I read
I would
it.
think it.
Where
but
are
it
yous
is- that
going?
sounds
I'll
like
meet yous
yeah.
there.
Hey, QE, who asked the question?
Yeah, that's right. Ask me a question.
Should I say ask?
Nobody says
I
axe.
thought it
That's
was
just
Y-U-Z.
Asked is something you do when you're chopping stuff. Asked is what you do when you request something.
Yeah, but when we start
Just make
using
like a
words,
tree and get out of
people
here.
Yeah, that's such a good line.
You don't say axed. That's not the right way to say things.
What part was the one
Yeah,
where he
that's
comes
proper
back
grammar.
older and finally corrects him? It's leave, you idiot, leave.
That part too.
To ask and shall receive is in Chaucer from the Bible, like 1000 AD.
No, we got trouble in
What?
Shangri-La.
Sup, boys?
Wait, English is thousands of years old in the Bible? Really?
Is this the ghost of
Yeah,
Lisa
if you look it up, Chaucer uses it in one of the first translations of the Bible, where he says, "Ask and you shall receive."
I think that's
Look it up.
probably a spelling error.
Nope.
Then it doesn't make any sense.
No, it makes sense. It's just we use different words now. You know, we changed it into ask.
That used to make the fun of me when I got it right all along. I'll ask anything I want to ask
That's
now.
right.
The whole Red Dwarf plot about that. So Rimmer's parents were Seventh-day Advent hoppists because of a spelling error. So the greatest of these is hop. So they used to go around hopping on a Sunday because of a spelling error.
Oh, brother. You got another one, too. You got yiz, you got y'all, and then if you're from where I'm from, there's another one. Yins.
Well, we
Hey,
have
where
another
are
one in
yins
English
going?
then. We have ewes. Like sheep. Ewes. Sheep, you know what I mean? Ewes.
You is, yeah.
Shout
yeah.
out.
You though.
Shout out to all those people up the world champion Pittsburgh Steelers. And shout out to all you guys. Yins.
Well, my wife and I were both discussing strange ways of speaking in this area because neither of us are originally from this area. And one we both laughed about, which I can because I'm not a Leamingtonian or a Warwickshire person, is. So what it is how they say is. They'll say it twice. So what it is how they'd start their sentence. That was 3 is. I got it in. I knew I could do it eventually. I got 3 in.
What's the name for somebody from Leamington, Nathan? Is it
Leamingtonian.
I actually typed that the other day. What it is
Why are they not called lemmings?
Yeah.
Lemmings. Well, why not? But Lemmingtonian.
I much prefer lemmings. That's a much better
Tiny
word.
animals.
Yeah,
Back in the sardine
following the
can?
crowd.
There better not be any cliffs around.
Pack like lemmings into shiny metal boxes?
You don't actually think that that is true about what lemmings do you? That's Disney propaganda. They shoved them all off the cliff. They chased them all off that cliff. The only reason people think lemmings jump off cliffs, and there's a whole game devoted to it, is because of a Disney movie that they filmed, a documentary about lemmings and their nature and what they do, and they basically forced them all off a cliff.
I was quoting a song by the Police called Synchronicity 2, when it says, pack like lemmings into shiny metal boxes. Contestants in a suicidal race, referring to people going onto trains, going back and forth to work.
Nathan, I've got to call bullshit on your claim, because I had the game called Lemmings from Psygnosis in the early 90s on the PC, and I distinctly remember that they would all end up dead.
They were all what?
They would all end up dead.
In the game? Yeah, that's probably...
Yeah.
Yeah, but that idea has come from a documentary. Look it up just type in lemming documentary or something like that. And you won't have to look very far to find the original documentary and somebody describing how it was made. Not now.
No, I'm not doing. I took it as a rhetorical comment.
What is a lemming anyway? A small animal?
Yeah, it's like a little...
It's a rodent, like a mouse or a gerbil. I'm presenting the wiki.
There was one on Mars, wasn't there?
A lemming?
Yeah, it was.
And Nathan is right. It is popular culture based. It's not actually real that they commit suicide in mass.
Definitely lemmings on Mars. Definitely. They got a picture of it.
Those are biker
We got a picture of the lemming.
My favourite.
Chocolate, you profiling, dude.
Yeah, these are pictures of what is claimed to be Martian terrain that have got what look like animals in them because they've just changed the whatever colour settings in Photoshop. It just turns everything into this sort of orangey red hue, including any animal-shaped rocks that they claim they actually are. No, it's just simulacra. It just looks like an animal. Don't be silly. It's obviously just Martian rocks that look like mice.
No, it was actually an Arctic lemming. It wasn't an animal that looked like a rock. It was an animal that looked like an animal. Definitely taken on Mars or through the vacuum of space. Definitely.
Okay, so they're like 18 centimeters, between 12 and 18 centimeters, so they're like rat-sized, or small rat. And it look like a guinea pig from this picture.
Damn, me, Market, you kill him, we'll chill him.
Yeah.
Burger King, home and Whopper. What's your beef?
Well, it's either a Mojave ground squirrel. That's what I thought it was initially because I've seen those personally before. Probably right near where they took that photo, by the way. Or it's up in that island. What's that island called up there? Nova Scotia up there somewhere where they do all the NASA crap.
Isn't it Devon Island or something like that?
Yeah, there's something similar. I forget what that vermin's name is called, but it could be that too.
Yeah, they actually admit to being there, though, don't they? There's plenty of photos of the little remote control cars with cameras on top, and NASA wagons everywhere. So it's sort of...
Well, I think the Arctic lemming was natural to that part of the world, Devon Island.
Well, it says here
I'd have to be sure. It's been a while since I looked into that, but yeah.
According to the wiki, lemmings are exclusively cold area, tundra, and the likes type animals. So
tundra.
That's where they are.
Tundra.
They're cool animals.
Hey, tundra. There's no tunes out there. Tundra. No, tundra.
Whatever.
He said tundra.
Tundra in Dutch.
Some lady in a
Tundra.
laundromat.
Sorry.
Some lady in a laundromat told me they're almost extinct lemmings because she's hearing my conversation.
Have you all now seen the Chinese claim to be in space where there's a glass of water on the side in it? Have you all seen that now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's gone around
that
very
glass of water
quickly.
just get out on the desk.
No, we haven't all seen it.
What?
You see, you got two people, Chewy and Chocolate, both going, wait, what? There's a piece of footage. I can't remember who it was that first showed me. It was great the way they edited it together because they played it out just in real time. And because your brain is tuned to not see unfamiliarity in things like a glass of water on the side when they're floating around in space, right? So you've got this glass of water, it's perfectly still, it's perfectly level, it's not floating around, but it's just there in the shot. So it's only when someone pointed it out and zooms in on it and you go, oh yeah, it's a glass of water. Why is that doing that then? Obviously not in space. Not that we didn't know that. It's a second law of thermodynamics violation. Narnia akin.
Isn't it amazing how, if it was us that had presented that as evidence that we were trying to claim that proved that the ISS was in space and we were trying to rely on it, and then ball earthers would say, well, explain that glass of water then. They would never just flip it off the way they do. They would jump all over that and call us all sorts of names. But when it's the other way around, I don't know.
It's the equivalent of us saying, yes, of course, Narnia's real. And yes, of course, when you go through, you experience time dilation. And yes, of course, when you come back, you will be a child again. And then you cut to the shot of the wardrobe door opening, and some old dude wanders back through. And they go, no, ignore him. The next person that comes through will be young. Or something like that. And you're trying to excuse some fundamental principle that you've employed in terms of your ideas of what the world is. They fail before your very eyes, and you just go, shh, just ignore that. Don't worry about it.
Bit like Elon Musk when he was demonstrating how strong his that weird looking 4x4 thing was, and the guy got a hammer to it and accidentally broke it because the door wasn't shut properly. Oops.
No, that was a bulletproof demonstration, though, wasn't it?
So bulletproof but not rock-proof. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was an armored truck or something. Yeah, armored Tesla truck. I think that's what it was called.
So what link is that? Or you know what's something that pisses me right off was people just post links in Skype. They don't put what it's about first and then post the link. They just post the link. I'm not clicking on it. Just out of principle. Post the damn, say something and then post the link, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I got reprimanded for that a while ago.
Reprimanded? Really? Is there a hallmark?
Chewy did exactly what he did, but he personalized it to me. What the hell are you doing posting stuff and not explaining it? I don't know. I thought that's all I had to do.
I just posted a really cute Lemmings documentary for those who want to see it in Master V.
Yeah, that's exactly why I don't click on those damn things. I got pissed off. Now, Nathan, do you have the footage of this glass of water? I don't want you to just tell me.
No, I'm sorry. I don't have that to hand.
Someone go find that.
I think Level Earth Observer posted it, if you guys know who he is.
There you go.
It's Raichi's video.
It was
Like
Raichi.
Raichi.
It was Raichi 00000 YouTuber.
That Raichi is ace.
I'm not getting it. The glass of water was where?
Next to them.
Outside. Where was it?
This isn't a marvelous concept. Imagine you've gone to the
While
tap.
we're doing a spacewalk.
I'll talk you through it so you can understand it and conceptualize it. Imagine you've gone to get a glass of water, yeah? And you're about to do a piece to camera. And then you set the glass of water on the desk next to you. Then the guy from the props department and costume department comes and harnesses you up, wires you up, you dangle, they say action, you do your piece to camera, they say cut, you then go away, everyone's happy. And you forget that you've left a glass of water on the desk next to you that isn't floating around with you in space. It is just that simple.
No way. I gotta see that one. This is a new one too. Oh man, that's
Hey,
a good to
QE
sit
is in
together,
hey,
guys.
QE is in Discord for you.
It's in Discord?
Yeah.
All right.
There's 2 videos in Discord.
Looking out, virus.
Virus helping us out with the globe debunking space videos. Love it.
Have you changed your pants recently and not changed the pants that you're in?
I didn't understand that. I have changed my pants, but
He
I
doesn't
left
think
those
it's
in the dirty
debunking
clothes
NASA,
hamper.
I bet.
Hey, virus, in celestial navigation, is there a use for triangles?
What?
In celestial navigation, is there a use and understanding for triangles, right angle triangles?
Yeah, man. I guess doing the math of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you say doing the math of it, how do you get it in the first place?
What do you mean?
Well, don't you,
Hold
before you
on
can
a
do the
second,
math
just 1
on
second,
something,
just
you got
level
to
him
have
up
an
because I can't
equation.
quite hear him. Either you're talking a bit quietly or we're moving past this. The first question I didn't understand. He said, are you using triangles in celestial navigation? Did you answer that already?
Yeah.
And what was your answer?
Yeah. I guess when you're doing the math for it, yeah.
There are triangles used in celestial navigation, contrary to what Ruhif has said.
You can. You don't have to, but you can. There's different ways of doing it. You can do trilateralization or triangulation. I mean, trilateralization.
Okay, let me try and rephrase it for you, just so we can get past this. Are there some triangles in celestial navigation?
Yeah, I just answered that. Yeah.
So there are some.
Same
Okay.
question,
So would you say it's inaccurate if I was to say there are or there's no triangle in celestial navigation? Would that be right or wrong?
I think it'll be wrong to say there's completely none, but you don't
You
have to use
wrong?
triangles.
Ruhif.
I don't think you
Even
have to use-
Virus, who, let's be honest, is a spastic, says you're wrong. So, Ruhif, why are you sending messages about there's no triangle in cell nav? That'd be celestial navigation. Even this guy knows how stupid you are, Ruhif. Oh, my God. Do you want to tell him how stupid he is, Virus?
No, I would not say that he's stupid.
Oh, I'll tell him. You're really stupid, Ruhif. There's definitely triangles in celestial navigation. Even your own side knows this, you complete dumbo. I don't mind telling him, Virus, if you don't want to. I'll just tell him how stupid he is for this comment.
Can I have a moment with Virus, please?
Sure.
Virus, you said the word trilateration. Do you think the sextant you use for trilateration or triangulation?
You probably use you can use trilateralization because you're getting distance to the GP as well, so you could use trilateralization.
Well, I know, but you didn't answer the question succinctly. Is the sextant limited to triangulation, or can it do trilateration and triangulation? What is your answer to that question?
You could use the sextant for either one of them. That is my answer.
Oh, you can use it, but the last time you commented, you said trilateration. Why are you talking over me?
I wasn't finished with my answer.
Why did you use the word trilateration in your last sentence, and what was the context? Go.
Because you could use it for distance. No, trilateralization is using the distances, and that's what you could use using 3 GPs. Distances to the GPs. That's trilateralization.
And do you not believe that trilateration is referred to GPS satellites and not the sextant? Are you aware of that?
I can understand that, but trilateralization is just using 3 distances instead of using 3 angles.
Let me ask you.
How do you get the first angle? Hold on. How do you get the first? When you first pull the sextant out, right? You're lost. You pull the sextant out. Are you using trilateration?
No, you're not using anything at the moment. You're just trying to figure out your position. You're using the sextant just to get your angles.
How you do that?
By using the sextant?
Yeah, the first angle.
Yeah, by using a sextant.
And what's that called?
Getting an angle?
Yeah. Is that a triangle that you're making there?
No.
Well, then why do you say it works for triangulation if it's not a triangle?
What kind of
Triangulation is
triangle?
using
No, no,
three
I-
angles to get your position.
No, no.
You can use 3 angles to get your position.
Q, go to hang on, Q, go to Masturbate. I posted
But
it
is that
again. You can put that in Discord.
requiring effects or something?
1 sec, just let
Requiring a
Virus and
what?
10th. Just Virus and 10th, please.
Q, if you can post what I just posted, Masturbate, of a previous slide so Virus could see it. And then I'd like Brian to jump in because we did this whole thing on trilateration and satellites, and it's
Am I on the right one? It looks like kind of like a squirrel.
no, it says the cover will say no, the squirrel is that was from the previous lemming. GPS and GNSS, technology and geosciences.
Is it the last one?
Yes.
Okay, so
Virus, tell me when you got it. Or Q, you can tell me when he's got it.
GPS and GNSS.
Yeah, Brian, you remember the
technology.
day, you remember when they came on and Mr. Sensible was trying to say with the sextant, you trilaterate, it's not triangulation, Now we just went through a bunch of citations about sextant triangulating. I'm just going to focus on this one though.
Yeah,
it's there.
Oh, hold on, Brian. Thank you, Quantum Eraser. Have you got that, Virus?
Give me 1 quick second, man. Oh man, yeah, I got it.
Thank you.
Oh damn, that's small.
All right, but you see the cover of the book, right? It says GPS and GNSS technology in geosciences, right?
And I'm on, I guess this is, what's this, page 4? Introduction
okay.
to GPSGN55 technology or whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. Go to the actual citation, which would be the second slide. And I've got it highlighted in light blue, and then I'm going to hand it over to Brian, because he and I know exactly where this is going. Celestial navigation is based on the triangulation method, in which celestial bodies are used as reference points, comma. And the GPS is based on the concept of trilateration, which uses GPS satellites' locations as reference. So you see, a sextant isn't sighting a satellite, is it now, Virus? Take it over, Brian, after we hear his clumsy answer.
Yeah, I never said that. I didn't even mention GPS. You brought this into
But you did say trilateration in the sextant. So when is the sextant sighting satellites?
What is trilateralization?
Just cited what it is, literally 30 seconds ago. He's given you the citation. We made sure you had it. It's highlighted in blue. He read it out for an audience. It makes explicitly clear what it is. And now you seem to be chanting through me. Now you seem to be chanting through me. So is this where we remove Virus? Because this is the devastating point that undoes his claim that we use a sextant for trilateration. When we've got a citation highlighted in blue for him to read, why is it now you chanting through me as I highlight how stupid it is to ask that question?
It's not stupid to ask that question.
He's just cited it. Now either you say, yeah, I read along with you and understand how wrong I am, or I'll kick you out, you dumbo. Do you understand? That doesn't mean chant through me indefinitely as I berate you for your stupid question. It means understand and accept how stupid it is to claim trilateration when we've cited why it isn't with a sextant. Do you understand? Don't chant through me.
Explain why it wasn't stupid.
He's just cited it. Right, last chance. I'll explain it again in a calm voice. If he interrupts me once, he's gone. Clear, guys, on the panel? One interruption as I explain it for the third time. He has just given you the very specific highlighted citation, got you to reference it You've confirmed you've got it in front of you, and then he's read it out to you in answer to that question. Why? Because it's specifically cited as detailing using trilateration for GPS satellites and triangulation with a sextant. Thank you, 10th, for absolutely annihilating his stupid assertion in line with Mr. Sensible's stupid assertion, which demonstrates admirably upon citation that they don't know how this is functionally working, because they're citing the wrong things.
Nathan, I'm not quite done. I haven't even laid the hammer down. I purposely didn't highlight what follows for this situation to occur with virus or someone else. So let me keep reading. I'll start again from the highlighted, number 47. Celestial navigation is based on the triangulation method in which celestial bodies, get it? Celestial bodies, sun, moon, and stars, that kind of bodies, are used as reference points. And the GPS, okay, is based on the concept of trilateration, which uses GPS satellites, locations, and reference. Let's read on. 47. GPS can measure the time, altitude, longitude, latitude based on available satellite signals above the horizon and contributes in determining the precise positioning of an object on Earth that revolutionized the navigation and tracking applications. It is one of the most popular satellite-based navigation radio systems due to the global availability of signal as well as performance. The fundamental operations of the GPS are one-way ranging. One-way ranging that depends on satellite atomic clock predictability. GPS works in an integrated manner with various supporting parameters such as satellite geometry, communication link, antenna, satellite receiver, the position of the antenna, and decoding parameters. It is independent of any weather conditions and day or night limitations and provides autonomous spatial positioning with global coverage. Is that what a sextant does? One way from second law of thermodynamics violation, space pinging down here? Is that they're two separate systems. One trilateration is a one-way radio signal, not a sextant elevation angle, virus. You liar. I'm done.
Can I add something to this?
Yes.
What most of the people on our opposing side don't realize is that trilateration is also a triangle. For a start, the sextant. The distance to the GP is gained via the elevation angle, which requires a 90-degree baseline. And the elevation angle is closed off and becomes a right-angled triangle by the zenith from the GP going to the star as it meets the hypotenuse. It starts at the very end of the adjacent and meets the hypotenuse. That's a right-angled triangle. So anyone that thinks that triangles, or even if they want to add in the caveat, right-angled triangle is not part of celestial navigation, are 100% wrong, because I just named out the three sides there. The hypotenuse is the angle line, the adjacent is the distance between the observer and GP point. It also has another function that I'm not going to talk about now, which means that it has to be a straight line. And the opposite side of that right angle triangle is the zenith from the GP point to the star that meets the hypotenuse. So that is the right angle triangle that is used in celestial navigation, and they can't find the distance between the observer and the GP point without first having the elevation angle and then minusing that from 90 to get their zenith angle, which is then multiplied by 60 that gives them the co-altitude distance that is in minutes of degree, and that is then transferred one for one down along Earth's horizontal baseline as miles, as nautical miles, as the adjacent distance, or the zenith distance along the adjacent. So that is how that works. That is a right-angled triangle. Trilateration involves a satellite sending, right? Let's call it, just for ease of explanation, a satellite sending a signal to a receiver, and the receiver gaining the information about that satellite's subpoint, also known in what that would be, if we're talking about celestial bodies, as a GP point. So the subpoint is the coordinates of that satellite. So that ground coordinates of that satellite at that exact time. So it doesn't matter whether the satellite is a ground station that's stationary or something that's moving in the sky, as long as at that exact time the receiver receives the ground coordinates, the subpoint. Right. So, and that is a line to the satellite and a line straight down to the subpoint. Let's just say a satellite, and then from the subpoint, the distance between the receiver and the subpoint is calculated in a straight line. It's all 2D Cartesian, and then turned into 3D Cartesian, and then converted into latitude and longitude, and eventually latitude and longitude and height above ellipse. So that's how that works. But
Thank you. Thank you for giving us that very concise and detailed explanation. I really appreciate that.
But there's more than that.
Oh, okay.
That is how it's secretly they claim that how they actually claim GPS works is not how it works. And that is a little claim they put in the background that they kind of don't talk about because it requires a horizontal, right, distance between the GP or the subpoint and the receiver. But there's the actual way that GPS works, from what I can figure out, is a bit different again. Because I'm not going to go into all of it now. I will maybe do a presentation on it. Because if you look at how GPS is claimed to work, for a start, it can't work the first way they claim. It can work this way. Well, this way that they don't publicize, but is there in all their vernacular. But there is another way where it would work way, way easier, and it fits what a couple of sub-claims they make. That's all I'm saying about it at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Hang on one second, please. Thank you, Brian. Brian's going to be doing a full present on what he's researching. Let me summarize this, and whoever wants to say something, please go on after I summarize, if I may. Does a sextant has a radio receiver that sends a signal to a star and comes back?
No.
Okay, so it's not trilateration. It's triangulation, as it says. We have more than this citation. We did it when Mr. Sensible and the rest of the anti-flat earthers first came on. They mocked Mitchell from Australia. Mitchell came, showed all these similar quotations like I'm showing now, and they would have none of it because it embarrassed them, just like virus couldn't answer it. It's pretty clear here. Celestial navigation is based on triangulation method, in which celestial bodies are used as reference points. Then it changes and says, and the GPS is based on the concept of trilateration, which uses GPS satellites. And then it tells us it's one-way radio signals. So in that case, if they could be interchangeable, then the sextant would have to be able to do one-way radio signals, and GPS would have to measure elevation angles if they're interchangeable. But is that what it says here?
No. Thank you.
It's all to do with what you measure. So if you measure an angle, then you are doing triangulation. You will use length in it. But if what you measure in the real world is an angle, then you're doing triangulation to calculate it. If you measure a length, a lat, then you're doing trilateration. When we do in GPS, it's a ping bounce, but it's still a measurement of distance that you measure it. It's time distance, but it's still a measurement of distance that you use to put in to calculate. So that's how I always distinguish the two.
Just so people.
Can I say something? Because you're talking about GPS and so on. You're just talking about GPS like it's a reality, like they are saying it is. But we know they are using high altitude platform system or station systems. That is using radio communication, and it works for GPS that is using the same technology and LoRaWAN. Now it's an eLoRaWAN. eLoRaWAN is a system that works actually for GPS. And GPS can have connectivity to the air to these high altitude platform stations. That is like a network above 20 kilometers. So there is no satellites. There is this system that has been from the start of it was 1953. So, but today it's very, very sophisticated. And yes, you can use triangulation with GPS because of it. You have radio connectivity with towers on the ground, cell towers, and it's all connected together like a network. So that is the explanation for the GPS.
Yeah, fair enough. In terms of its practical use and how it's applied to your actual machine in your car, it's very useful to know. But the actual reference system is ECE-EF, Earth-Centered, Earth-Fixed, which sounds spherical, but isn't. It's flat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the disco ball.
Say again, Brian? It was Brian that told me this, so go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, it was 10th pulled out the disco ball for it, because that's what it is. They try and claim it's a disco ball. It's like a huge sphere of tangent planes, but it's not. It's GPS references your position from one Cartesian coordinate plane to the next. It's never ever referencing you. Like it will give you elevations and stuff, but it's primarily referencing a horizontal plane, and then elevations above that horizontal plane. The elevations obviously are above sea level. That's the coordinate system GPS uses. But all the zeniths that go into each Cartesian system are all mathematically pre-assumed to meet at the center of a globe Earth with a radius of 3959 miles. So that mathematically they can add in or if they want afterwards. But the whole process in real time and real world is constantly referencing a horizontal plane or the Earth having a horizontal baseline. I mean, the elevation part is only an extra. They just need to give the coordinates they only just need to get the coordinates to the receiver. And then once the receiver has the coordinates, it then knows, because it has internal mapping from surveying, it then knows its own elevation. You know, there's a big misnomer about the mainstream claim concerning GPS. I'll say this much about it. Let's just say I have a receiver, and let's just say there is 3 satellites, and they all send the signal, right? And I connect up to three signals. Right, my receiver, I turn on the receiver, it doesn't know where it is, it gets these 3 signals. Now, besides all the other data that's given, right, or information that's given by these, let's call them satellites, doesn't matter if they're high altitude balloons, whatever, right? What, according to the mainstream claim, my receiver, if you listen to what the mainstream claim is, ends up finding out how far away it is from those satellites, right? But that means absolutely nothing, because it still doesn't know how far away it is from the GP points, the sub-satellite points. It still doesn't know anything about that. Even though it has the coordinates of the sub-satellite points, all it's got is the altitude or the distance to those satellites. So a lot of our opposition thinks that's all it needs to happen. They actually think that the satellite tells the receiver where it is, right, within their claim. It doesn't. This just wouldn't work. Even if we're on a globe, the way it's described as working wouldn't work, because all the receiver then knows is its distance from 3 positions in the sky. It still has to work out where it is in relation to the 3 sub-satellite points. How is it going to do that? That's when they have to bring angles into it. If you listen to what Tent said a few minutes ago, he said altitude. Yeah, the receivers, GPS receivers, they know angles and they use angles. And they also are given the altitude of the satellite, right? This is part of what the claim, I'm not saying this is definite, this is what the claim is, right? They use right-angled triangle trigonometry. They don't use it like celestial navigation, but the receiver also uses the celestial navigation almanac, and it does use the stars. So if it's going to reference a star as a way of pinpointing its location, it will be using the triangulation method that is used in celestial navigation, because there's no other method you'd use. But if it's referencing a man-made satellite, whether it be a substation or a high-altitude balloon or whatever you want to believe, it is going to have to do triangulation. Remember the way a man proto? Remember using the eternal angles and length of sides? It would have to do it that way. Or that's the way it has to do it according to the claim. But that's a background claim. Most of our opposition think that the receiver gets its location based on being told what it is from 3 or 4 satellites. It's like, no, it doesn't. Within the official claim, the best the satellite could do, or the receiver could do, is figure out its own distance from these points in the sky. But that means absolutely nothing. That even doesn't mean enough on its own over a flat plane. Imagine how convoluted that would be on a sphere. The whole GPS thing is so convoluted, and the actual way I found out how it absolutely can work is so much simpler than they tell you.
Nathan, if I may, there's a lot of tributaries to this stream. Brian just went down a few, and he's going to be working because he and I've talked, so I know what he's up to. But what I want to make sure the audience doesn't lose right now is the simplicity of what's been happening over the last couple of years.
Sure,
when we first came out with the sextant argument, we heard them saying, "Don't say 90." Shh. Then, "Oh no, it's not a right angle triangle." Then, "No, it's not triangulation, it's trilateration." Why? Why all of these things? Well, it's to avoid the elevation angle measurement that could only happen on a flat baseline. That's the whole reason. So now, right in front of us is a technical manual that explains the difference between celestial navigation, sighting stars with an elevation angle, and GPS-based trilateration, which uses radio signals one-way direction. They are two distinct, different systems. They were trying to convolute trilateration with the sextant in order to get rid of 90, to get rid of triangulation, and elevation angles. They have failed miserably. There is no...
And triangles.
Yes, and triangles. Yeah, the whole thing. So just keep it simple. We can kill them on all the other things, because last week we talked about the Haversine formula. You remember with refractive curvature?
Sure, converting a celestial sphere model with a flat plane into a globe model.
Yeah, well, I've been studying that for a while. And this astronomical triangle, the PZX, or also known as the navigational triangle, has been at the forefront since the beginning of the research. And it took me a while to get it, but because I'm not math oriented, and I saw the Haversine, but then when John said what he said, something clicked in my mind because of all the research. So I just went at it. I'm putting together something. I've contacted him separately. I want him to be a part of it because he'll be the math part, which I'm not very good at. But basically, what they've done is they've taken the flat Earth model, or the flat Earth itself, our reality, and they've got an angle measurement from what they say is the center. Of course, there is no center, but that equatorial plane. And they've projected it to a concave inner surface of an imaginary celestial sphere with the stars at infinite distance. So they've done that first. So the angle starts on the flat plane, you get an elevation angle, then they project it, and as you know, as it goes through the arc of the protractor, the arc is obvious, but it continues to extend all the way to the celestial sphere's inner surface, the concave side of it. Then it's reprojected back onto the surface of the protractor that doesn't exist. And there you have your spherical triangle that's not 180. And I've been putting a lot of time in this, but this will come out and this will be the death blow for them. So I can't wait. I can't wait to share that with refracted curvature and then both of us doing something.
I'm not going to say anything because you have a thing coming out, and I also want to keep it on the down low anyway. But there is one sentence that destroys that whole claim that Tent just spoke of there. One sentence that destroys all of that. And we spoke about it way back last year. Way back at the start. One thing annihilates all of that. But I'm not going to go into it now.
Go on.
Good man.
Nope.
Good man.
Nope.
Go on.
No. These things you have to keep to yourself for a while.
You tease.
Fine.
It's already been out there. All you have to do is go back and think about it and look through what we first went through, and you'll see it.
It's not as big as it is.
Brian dropping.
It won't be as big as it. It will not be as big as a tease as what I've said to you all. I can't talk about it, but when it's time, that one thing I'm holding back.
Fair enough. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premium streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.